Stuck planning another group event? Tired of the same old ideas? HIP Motorsports has exactly what you need. Drive HIP's top-notch racing simulators. Race incredible virtual cars and tracks in the HIP esports arena. Chirp your opponents and battle for the podium. Then relax in the HIP lounge with some tasty food and drinks. It's a unique motorsports-inspired experience that your group will love and remember. Scan the code to plan your event. HIP Motorsports provides complete turnkey racing simulators for your home or business. We'll help you select a package that fits your needs and budget. Then build and deliver a fully supported turnkey solution. You just race. HIP Motorsports has the top sim racing brands and the expertise to get you into your dream racing simulator. HIP Motorsports is your sim racing source.
For those who competed decades ago, speeding down highways, through towns, country roads. For those who sat watching on the sides of the street, who found solace in chaos and thunderous speed. Even for those who grew up without the sights and the sounds, and live without race cars shaking the ground. Who don't understand why racing appeals to our fascination, wonder, and the way that we feel. A purpose-built place to camp and spend time with friends, watching racing together until darkness descends. Though no longer do the streets rumble and roar, there's a place just for this, a park to explore.
A road racing circuit before the assault. The 4 twisting, beautiful miles at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. For 6 brutal, ear-shattering hours, its serenity will be violated by the raw power of screaming racing machines. It's the famed end-of-season endurance classic, the Road America 500. The specially constructed race circuit at Elkhart Lake at normal speed is a scenic 4-mile drive through fall-tinted Wisconsin countryside.
Hidden by forests near Elkhart Lake, not a path nor a trail, but a road meant to race. In a town too quiet, the refuge we seek. Road America, the racetrack, the national park of speed.
$4 running and over $130,000 strong, Sim Racing for the Kids is back and better than ever in 2025. This year's goal is on its way to being crushed, and past records have long been broken in this one-of-a-kind fundraiser event, and we couldn't be happier to be bringing you coverage this evening. Welcome to Pitstop TV in the virtual Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV with Zach Lindgren and David Levine alongside, and it's a pleasure to join you for coverage of Sim Racing for the Kids, brought to you by Canadian Motorsports Academy. Tonight's coverage from Road America is brought to you in part by the Canadian Motorsports Academy, Hyundai Canada, and Auto Eclectic Motorsports. I am so lucky to have been a part of this event the last 4 years, now making it 4 years here in 2025. Zach, David, I'm so glad to bring you guys in and make you guys a part of it this year. This is the coolest thing I do on a yearly basis now. Sim Racing for the Kids in support of Sick Kids Toronto. I'm so glad to be back here. I didn't know if this was going to happen again this year, didn't know if I'd be a part of it. Oh, it feels good. I'm getting the shakes out and everything. We are here. We are ready to go racing. Zach, here's a look at Road America, the track we're racing on this evening. 4.04 miles in length, 6.5 kilometers. It's a big boy.
It is a very big boy, and the elevation changes that happen throughout this track is incredible. I mean, you've got just the hill from 14 to 1 alone, and then you've got a downhill from turn 3 to turn 5. Same thing from turn 9 around the long sweeping turn 10. I mean, the elevation changes alone in this track are enough to make you feel like you're on a roller coaster ride, but I can't really speak much of it as a sim racer. But I know David here, he's been he's been on this track for real. David, is the elevation really really going to play a factor in this race?
It's definitely as cool as you guys make it sound. This Road America used to be my home road course. Growing up for years, it was only about an hour and a half from where I lived, and like you said, the elevation here is unbelievable. The speed that we're going to see today is going to be fantastic. We're going to see a lot of high speed, big slipstream, big draft battles into some of the slow speed, heavy braking corners. There's a lot of technical bits up 6, 7, 8 through the carousel into the kink, down into Canada Corner. There's so many ways and places that you can set up your passes that just make this one of one of the greatest tracks, at least in my opinion.
And we're glad to be here. Weather conditions in the sim, 65.6 degrees in the air, overcast skies, a very cloudy day.
We're gonna have to change the batteries after this.
Oh, hang on. Move him out of there. A very cloudy day here in virtual Elkhart Lake. Very, very cloudy. We're not going to be talking about track conditions being all that crazy for these guys. It's a perfect day to go racing. I know overcast skies, though, can mess with shadows a little bit. How big of a deal, David, is that going to be for these guys? Maybe taking away a couple of sight lines or a couple of shadows maybe used for braking markers?
Definitely, most of these guys being professional drivers and having some real world experience, they don't necessarily rely on some of the shadows across the track as brake markers, but definitely getting down into some of the corners, some of the coming up over some of the crests, you turn right at the sun, and as soon as that hits you right in the eyes, it'll take you a half a second to realize, like, okay, yeah, there's no car in front of me, the racetrack is still where the racetrack is, nothing's changed. I've just got a little bit, I've got to figure out a little bit where I am and everything. And sometimes that split second, that right when you come up over the hill and that sun hits you right in the face, sometimes you go, okay, I'm good. Oh no, there's a car in front of me that spun. What am I supposed to do? So it's definitely something to pay attention to for all these drivers here tonight.
Drivers during their final laps of practice before we go racing, but let's talk about why we're here. We're in support of the Sick Kids Foundation, based in Toronto, Canada. Please do consider donating at the website below, or use your phone, your smartphone. You've got one. It's 2025 now. Let's be real. You've got one. Even if you have a flip phone, it's got a camera on it. Take a picture maybe of the QR code and save it for later. I don't know, but go to the QR code and donate if you can. We really do urge you to consider doing so if you're able. The goal has already it's on its way to being crushed this year. It's an elevated goal this year, I will say, compared to what it's been in years past. I think we're going to hit it. It might take another day or two here, David, Zach, guys, but I think we're going to hit it. We're already on our way to $50,000 Canadian. We are definitely moving along to that goal this year of $87,000 Canadian, crushing last year's goal, crushing the year before. It's been insane to see the response to this event this year and all of the money raised for Sick Kids Foundation. Again, this is the coolest thing I do every year now. I'm so lucky to have been a part of it in years past and be back here in 2025. This is just the coolest thing I do. Broadcasting iRacing and racing in support of Sick Kids Foundation. Again, one more time, the link is down there at the bottom. It's also pinned in the Pitstop TV YouTube chat, so you can go find it there, or you can scan the QR code on your screen and go to the website. We'll be pushing this up again another time or two, so don't worry if you can't do it right now. It'll be back in a little bit. But we also do want to thank our partners with this event. We can take a look here on the left side of the screen. Canadian Motorsports Academy, Hyundai Canada, Auto Eclectic Motorsports, Vehicle Dynamics Group, the Garage Guy Barbecue, Hit Motorsports, Georgetown Hyundai, Muddy Moose, Larder Lake, Breyer Brothers Brewing Company, Rev TV, and, well, of course, we're here in support of Sick Kids. Before we go any further, we're going to listen to a quick message from our Grand Marshal this evening, James Hinchcliffe.
Hey guys, Hinch here, your Grand Marshal for the 4th annual Sim Racing for the Kids iRacing event. We're here again. It's such an exciting way to kind of kick off the racing season for a lot of people, and I'm just absolutely floored. We continue to keep growing this thing year after year. We've raised over $40,000 so far for the event this year. That's going to bring our total over the 4 seasons up to over $130,000. Of course, all going to the Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. I say it every year. I don't know anybody from Canada that hasn't been either directly touched or indirectly touched through a friend or family member by the incredible staff at Sick Kids Hospital. We can't thank them enough for all that they do. And that's why we continue to put on this event. Like I said, records being broken on the donation side, but also on the involvement and competition side. We've got 41 pros this year, highest ever, 11 drivers doing it for the first time, 56 teams. Biggest grid that we've had, a total of 168 drivers will be taking part, 39 more than the highest ever field that we've had. So incredible participation from everybody. I can't thank all the teams and drivers for their fundraising efforts to help us get to those incredible milestones. And of course, we couldn't do it without incredible support from some huge sponsors. I've got to thank the Canadian Motorsports Academy coming on board in a big way this year for the 2025 edition of the race. Of course, Hyundai Canada have joined us for the first time. Thank you so much for your support. And Auto Eclectic Motorsports, who are donating the track day for the 3 drivers on the team that raised the most money by January 10th. So it's not done yet. You can still raise more money. January 10th, that closes, and there's a prize fund for that top team valued at over $8,000. So everybody wins in this event. I'm sorry that I can't participate in it again this year, but I will be watching. I cannot wait to see the action. And speaking of action, whether you're watching on Rev TV or on YouTube, I think it's time to get this thing started. So, drivers, let's get to the grid.
Thank you, James Hinchcliffe, the Grand Marshal of this evening's event. We're also going to have a quick message from Demi over at Canadian Motorsports Academy before we get this show on the road.
Hey guys, I'm Demi Chelkis. I'm here at HIP Motorsports for Sim Racing for the Kids. We're going to be doing a 3-hour endurance race to raise money for Sick Kids Hospital. You can scan the QR code and donate online. No amount is too small. Sick Kids Hospital was a big part of our family's lives for my nephew, and so it's an initiative that means a lot to us. There's no amount too small, so please guys, if you can donate, go ahead, scan the QR code, donate some money. And a big shout out to the Canadian Motorsports Academy. I am proud to be a representative of the CMA. We are the title sponsor for this year's event, and exciting news coming out. We are going to be relaunching our website, so stay tuned for that. And in February, we're launching our Rising Star Award for the Motorsports Hall of Fame, and we are going to be releasing our dates for our Cross Canada tour. So please be sure to tune in for the Canadian Motorsports Academy. Exciting things are coming up. As for myself, 2025 is going to be an exciting year of racing. We're going to be having tons of fun, and I can't wait to be racing with all of you tonight. So be sure to donate if you can, and if not, tune in live, show your support, and follow along.
Welcome back to the virtual Road America. We are ready to go racing. Qualifying is out of the way. These drivers are gridding up and about to go at it. Let's take a moment and go down to our starting grid here. First off, we got to get into the sim virtually. Here we go. Boom. We're in the iRacing.com sim. Let's take a look at the starting grid for this evening's race. First up, on pole position, how about? It's going to be Guillaume Levesque. Now, we don't have team names on the grid, so I'm going to bounce off of you guys a little bit. We're going to see the driver here. I'm going to read the team names. So we're going to go Regulars Racing on pole this evening. We're at SM Squad, starting from second. Starting third and fourth, you'll find Grassroots Racing in the 83, then Murat SM Squad in the number 7. Starting fifth and sixth, it's Sim City Racing 971 and Club Iron Motorsports in the 23 car, starting from 6th spot. Starting 7th, it'll be AV Esports in the number 94 with Rasim Fazui behind the wheel. Then it's Polar Bear Racing starting from 8th with Quentin Warman behind the wheel. And to wrap up the top 10, how about Roberts Racing and Event Matrix Blue? Zach?
Well, to continue on with what Andrew's saying, Event Matrix Blue, like Andrew said, top 10 Maradness ASR will be rolling off P11. The 408 of Jackson Drives HPDE Endurance will be 12th. Rad Motorsports and the 830 will be 13th. Last 10th Racing and Express Esports will be 14th and 15th respectively. DSJ Montreal MPR Endurance Team 16th and 17th. Going off 18th, SimCity Racing 970. They are the number 70 vehicle. Balka Racing 998 will be 19th. And rounding out the top 20, number 4, No Content Racing Team.
21st, we've got Obtuse Racing Green. 22nd, Gladiator Road Racing. Go Fast Racing starting in 23rd. 24th, we've got Sim Racing Canada with Driver's Paddock starting 25th. 26th, we've got car number 78, Thays Superlap Green. 27th, car 67, Kitty Speed Racing. Esports Racing Canada by SRN, 28th, 29th, Maple Speedsters, and 30th, Newport Sales Group.
We'll let the graphic catch up here just a little bit. There you see row 15, Andrew Calabrese and Luke Tucciarone in the 30th spot. Starting 31st, it'll be the Loud Cup Racing Team in the 19 car, then Thays Superlap Yellow from 32nd. Starting 33rd, it'll be Sim Racing Nation in the number 43 car, with the Sicarios Racing number 14 starting from 34th spot. Starting 35th, it's the Caremakers, 36th, Pierogi Masala. They are ready to go racing from 36th spot. A little bit deep in the field now, it's B Squared in Trace in 37th spot. ASAD reps from the 38th position. Starting 39th, it's 705 Motorsports with Patrick Brunet behind the wheel. And Dex Lindgren will start 40th for Grassroots Racing Lawnmowers. Zach?
Well, how about that? I think I just got a new favorite. But anyway, continuing on with that, the number 6 at Jim Barras Racing, Mike W. Wagner will be starting off in P41. 77 at Go Fast, Alex Smalley, P42. Number 13 of Event Matrix Orange will be rolling off 43rd with Diego Zuccarelli, be starting off P43. Then the 61 of TK Racing, Nick Lugemans will be starting off P44, the 96 of Overdrive P45, the 013 Webster Racing by Smurfit. Yeah, I'm going to stop right there because it cuts off, rolling off P46, Obtuse Racing, the 104, be rolling off P47 with Val DiPietro behind the wheel. Number 15, VSR, will be rolling off P48. Number 34, RKD Esports, will be rolling off 49th, and rounding out the top 50 will be the 17 track Monsieur Racing of all that.
51st, we've got car 111, Team Slide Job. Shift E Racing, 52nd. Gingerbread Man Racing, 53rd. I've got starting 54th. Looks like he's going to be starting from pit lane, Track Mind. Breyer Brothers Racing, 55th. 56th, we've got Team No Name Racing. Tyler McLeod, P60.
That takes you through the starting grid here as they all roll off and away on the front stretch here at Road America. We got a very special pace car this evening, if we can find the pace car here. The Hyundai pace car is rolling out of the pit lane, and there it is. This is Mark Wilkins behind the wheel, and going to be bringing up the rear of the field here to start, and is going to cycle through and eventually catch the front of the field. Mark Wilkins behind the wheel of this 888 Hyundai pace car. Now, he drives the Hyundai TCR in the real world, so we figured let's go ahead and have him drive the pace car here for this event as he cycles on through and works his way between these nimble GT3 cars. Oh man, that little TCR in the middle of all these big burly GT3 cars. This is, oh, there's been some contact. That's what we were hoping not to have. That's okay though, he's gonna roll on through. He's finding
a very
his
narrow
way.
track with that big car.
Yes, and TCR cars, they're actually a little bit wide, I gotta say. They're tiny, kind of, but they're a little bit wide, so it's difficult to put them 3 wide between a couple of GT3 cars. David, that is a difficult spot to be in.
Yeah, definitely a difficult spot. The good news here is it looks like minimal damage to the 61 car, and he'll make it. He'll make his way up to the front here of the field, no problem. But yeah, like you said, it's these GT3 cars are not the smallest, and they're no spec Miata, so they're definitely going to be a little bit of a work for him to get up to the front here.
That's Mark Wilkins trying to get through the field here, riding on board of the pace car. How often do we do that? Not very often do we ride on board of the pace car. Not very often is it driven by a human, though. So he will get on through here to the front of the field. Regulars Racing and Muratis M Squad going to bring us to the green flag in another lap or so. And give me just one moment. We were hoping this wouldn't happen. iRacing doesn't like max cars sometimes. So we're going to fix something behind the scenes and be back to you in a moment. But guys, we got some pretty big time teams here. David, you were talking earlier about how many drivers in this field you've raced with in the real world. how excited are you to get, well, virtually racing with these guys in this case?
Yeah, like you said, it's definitely cool to see, all of these big names, both from the real world and honestly some of these really big names from the sim world. Like you said, it's nice to, it's nice for me to see some old friends, even if I'm not going to be able to get to race against them tonight. It's going to be great to get to watch them and, kind of see what they do and pick apart their racecraft and their strategy from here, because I've never really got to study them as much as as I'm going to get to tonight, because the times that I've raced against some of these guys, I've been in the car against them and I haven't been able to step back outside the car and watch some of the as we see the pace car taking a little bit of a spill here and looping it out of Canada corner.
And Zach, there's some big names in here. Which ones do you recognize as somebody who is an avid fan of racing?
Well, Daniel Murad would probably be one of the few that I recognize. They're, like David was saying, there's a bunch of big names in here that already know how to drive and how to get their way around this behemoth of a track. So honestly, I'm excited to just see, maybe not names go at it, but just see the talent level that this race can produce, and see the talent that is in this race go head to head. That's really what I'm looking forward to here.
While we work on a couple of things in the background, we're going to toss to a quick segment from the Sick Kids Foundation. We'll be right back here at Pit Stop TV.
Hello, Sim Racing for the Kids community. I'm Shannon, and I'm part of the Community Partnerships team at Sick Kids Foundation. On behalf of all of us here at Sick Kids, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you. Your dedication, enthusiasm, and generosity have made this event a tremendous success over the years. Since 2022, you've raised over $130,000 for the hospital. That's an amazing accomplishment. Thanks to your support, we can continue providing world-class care and research for our brave young patients. Every lap you race, every donation you make brings us one step closer to better treatments and brighter futures for our children, both here in Toronto and around the world. You've shown that the power of community and passion can truly make a difference. Thank you, Sim Racing for the Kids, for your incredible support. Together, we're driving towards a healthier future for all kids.
Thank you for that, Sick Kids Foundation, as we are back and ready to go racing this evening. We've got cars looping around the Road America circuit here at Virtual Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. There we go, cars on screen, that's what you want to see. Regulars racing leading the way here. Murad SM Squad going to join them on the front row. This is going to be a very, very fun time for us. We've got some of the best GT3 drivers in the world on iRacing and from just pro racing joining us, and even some other drivers from other walks of life joining us for this race. Is going to be a lot of fun as they work under that Johnsonville crossover bridge right there and into the carousel. This is going to be fun. Any predictions from you guys, Zach?
I mean, we were kind of talking about it in qualifying the 57 regulars racing, was putting down heaters of the lap. David kind of mentioned about how he was able to use virtually every single inch of the track, and even some that wasn't the track, but he was able to maintain car control. So it might be a bit of a cliche to pick the pole sitter. It might also be a bit of a broadcaster's curse. So if y'all rooting for him, I apologize, but that's gonna kind of be my pick for the very first part of this race. What about you, David?
I tend to agree with you. I think, like you said, the 57 car is really fast. I know all of the Muradness guys have put in a ton of practice and a lot of work to get where they are. I think if you've got to go with some sleeper picks, I think you've got to go with. I think I'm going to go with Kitty Speed. I think I'm going to go with that because I know I've seen Mark Miller race a couple times, and kind of watched his taillights drive away from me a couple times. So I think that's probably would be my sleeper pick.
Mark Wilkins has rejoined us at the front of the field and is going to pace these guys around to the front straightaway. through Bill Mitchell Bend, and to turn number 14 we go. Make your picks now in the YouTube chat. Who is going to win this race? We're going to find out in about 2.5 hours of racing. Through turn 14, up the hill. It's a big, tall hill here at Road America. The last second to wrap up your head around the race you're about to embark on. Here we go. Up the front stretch to the flag stand. And the green flag is in the air from Barney the Flagman. We are green flag racing from Road America. Already a big crash. One car broadside, that's one of the Miradis cars, and it is not pretty.
We got the 2 cars stopped right in the middle of the track, and we were kind of talking about it earlier in the race about how thin this track is. Everybody stays going, they stay green, but man, that was a rough start for some of these vehicles.
And it looks like there's another spin coming off of turn 3 that's collected a few. So this front group of 10 or 15 cars is absolutely going to benefit from this, unless we get to see the pace car early here.
We'll fight back towards the front of the field. Regulars Racing leading the way still. Clubline Motorsports in the second spot. Grassroots Racing, Marc-Andre Garone behind the wheel in third position. And the first side-by-side battle, that's going to be back here with SimCity Racing and AV Esports. AV Esports on the losing side. And that brand new Acura doing some work for SimCity Racing now in the 7th position.
You see them rushing down into one of the slower yet faster parts of the track. You really have to hit your marks at this point of the track, because the car can really step out easily on you because you're carrying so much speed. You can see them running through the middle, cars using a little bit of the grass to try to pick up as much grip as possible. I kind of wanted to hit on this at first. At the beginning of the race, we had 60 cars qualify on this. Although long track, it's not a wide track. That's kind of why we saw what we saw at the beginning of this race. David, as the race goes on, what do you expect to see as far as the number of cars you see on track as we see a big break going into Canada Corner?
The nice thing about this track being, and this is me being American, 4 miles long or almost 6.5 kilometers long, there's going to be some space for these guys to kind of stretch out. But with the speeds that almost everybody here is and how fast and how good all of these drivers are, I think it's probably going to take a while for these guys to stretch out. But one of the nice things about the iRacing.com sim as opposed to a real life charity race is this is a simulator. This is not real. These guys can come in that had issues here on the first lap, like we're seeing here, and they can come in and get what's called a fast repair. And they can come in, get a new car in 3 seconds, and go right back out and get back on track. So that's, I think, the nice thing about the Sim Racing for the Kids event here is we're raising money for kids, and all of this money is going to a fantastic cause. And these fast repairs are going to make sure that everybody stays in the race, as we see Giuliano here getting his new car and 4 new Pirelli P0 tires.
Yeah, Giuliano Romagnolo going up on the jacks here. Not where you want to be for a Canadian superstar in sim racing, but he will get back on the racetrack and continue on here in just a moment. Everybody, oh, that's a spin right in front of us as we join turn 5. That is going to be, I think, Pierogi Masala. No, that's actually one of the Hit Motorsports cars with Aniket, Micah, and Malcolm behind the wheel. Maybe we can find out who's behind the wheel of that 545 from Robert Hill Jr., one of our on-site producers. We've also got Yanto Ish from Thays Superlapse Green in the 79 car, missing a front bumper. So that is a big problem there for that Mercedes.
Well, and I think if you're going to have problems, you want to have it now, right? You want to have it at the beginning of the race. That way you know what's cut out for you right off rip. You know what to expect. You don't really have to gamble a lot. You could just drive your race at that point. As we circle back up to the leader of this race, that's kind of where I'd want to have any kind of fault, any kind of damage is right at the beginning of the race, where you know you can recover. You got plenty of time. You don't have to overdrive, and you got plenty of time ahead of you to try to put yourself back in a position to have some sort of success as the race continues on.
Micah was in that car for that spin, by the way.
Definitely picking off of what Zach says here. The earlier in the day that you possibly have an issue, the longer you've got left to recover. I would much rather have an issue with 2 hours and 25 minutes to go instead of 25 or 5 minutes to go, because at that point the mountain just becomes too big.
Bit of a battle going on back here. Kitty Speed and Go Fast Racing, 16th and 17th positions. Kitty Speed in the 67, defending right now in that Mustang. Over Go Fast Racing, Brian Valiente behind the wheel in that number 60 McLaren. The McLaren, there we go. Also pretty new to iRacing, guys. And in fact, we don't even have brand new cameras yet for this car, so we have the stock iRacing cameras on board here. But this is still a pretty good look at what we get behind the wheel of this McLaren. This is a really cool race car, and Zach, I'm glad it's on the iRacing.com sim now.
Oh, no, I absolutely agree. And as you were talking, I was kind of scrolling through the cars, looking at the disparity in the cars. I mean, sure, we have a lot of McLarens, Ferraris, and we have a good amount of Mustangs, but that's what you decide to get. That's what you have when you come to something like iRacing. You have so many options to choose from as far as what to drive and what handles the best for you, what you feel like is going to be the best handling speed-wise. We've seen a couple McLarens, we've seen a couple Porsches, we've seen plenty of just a plethora of cars out here on track, and all of them through different manufacturers.
We'll be right back. We're going to do a break here on Rev TV Canada, and we'll be right back at Pit Stop TV as well. Give us just one moment, and we'll be back to you for Sim Racing for the Kids 4.
Hello, Sim Racing for the Kids community. I'm Shannon, and I'm part of the Community Partnerships team at Sick Kids Foundation. On behalf of all of us here at Sick Kids, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you. Your dedication, enthusiasm, and generosity have made this event a tremendous success over the years. Since 2022, you've raised over $130,000 for the hospital. That's an amazing accomplishment. Thanks to your support, we can continue providing world-class care and research for our brave young patients. Every lap you race, every donation you make brings us one step closer to better treatments.
HIP Motorsports provides complete turnkey racing simulators for your home or business. We'll help you select a package that fits your needs and budget. Then build and deliver a fully supported turnkey solution. You just race. HIP Motorsports has the top sim racing brands and the expertise to get you into your dream racing simulator. HIP Motorsports is your sim racing source.
Back to you here from the virtual Road America. Nothing changing out front, still Regulars Racing and Club On Motorsports. And they lead the way. Grassroots Racing in third, a couple of Miranda's cars, Oceana Coffee and Ginger Liveries in fourth and fifth. There they are. There's a look at the Ginger Liveries machine with Adam Brockley behind the wheel. We know that name here at Pit Stop TV very well. He's been a part of the North American Racing League for seasons now, and I believe a recent champion over there as well. So we know this name very well here at Pit Stop TV. Excited to see what Adam can do. But right behind, there is a heck of a battle popping up with Rasim Fazui and Logan Pagza behind the wheel for the SimCity Racing 971 car. Polar Bear Racing being passed up. That's the number 73 McLaren that just got passed. And that Acura for SimCity Racing, boy, does it look good here, Zach. It's moving up.
It really is, and I was kind of wondering this as you were talking there, Andrew, about where you would kind of want to be in relative to all the other cars around you. What I mean by is, would you kind of want to be in your own space, in your own little bubble at this point of the race? I mean, I know we're only almost, 10 minutes in, but I mean, what do you just kind of want to settle in, or do you kind of want to be around cars to gain as many positions as possible? David, you've had real world experience. What would kind of be your preference as far as 10 minutes in? Do you want to have your own little bubble to try to set a bit of a groove, or would you want to be around cars trying to get position as quickly as possible?
Definitely towards the front of the field, I think, is the answer. Maybe, maybe running in third place or so is probably where I would want to be. It'll let me save a little bit of fuel while still driving away from the guys behind. These are fixed setups, and we're capped at, in iRacing, we're capped at 50% of what the fuel capacity is for these cars in real life. And that's going to force a bunch more pit stops than normal, than it would in real life. So I think, being up at the front is good, but I think that I would like to be second, third, fourth in line, just so I'm not punching that big of a hole in the air. I'm able to kind of lift and coast a little bit, save a little bit of fuel, because the more fuel that I can save on track while still going fast means the less time I'm going to be stopped in my pit box, not moving while everybody else is moving. So if I'm able to make that little jump, I don't know, Andrew, you and I have done this as well in the special events here on iRacing, so I know you can kind of speak to it too, about just being able to save fuel and shorten the amount of time stopped on pit lane.
And bear with us through some of the iRacing blinking that's been happening. It's been an ongoing issue, and we haven't been able to diagnose it yet. It happened with us at the Majors 24 back in June. It's happened before for SimTV, the previous broadcasting partner of this event, and it's still an unknown as to what exactly causes it. And basically, if you're unlucky enough to have it, you kind of just have it and have to dance around it a little bit. It has to do with the car limit a little bit, and we do our best here to dance around it to the best of our ability, and we are dancing for sure. Light on our feet tonight, but here soon we're going to have a quick look at something really cool. We don't have it just yet. I want to get everybody ready for it because just how cool this is. We're going to take a look on board with the Hit Motorsports camera at Hit Motorsports. It's coming soon. This is a little shout out to my on-site producer, Robert Hill Jr., to get working on that. In fact, hang on. Might even have it coming soon. Anyways, that's coming. We're on board with the 23 Club On Motorsports, and I gotta say, you guys are all preparing for the iRacing 24 of Daytona coming up soon. It sounds like the Mustang maybe isn't the fastest car right now, but it's working well here at Road America. Why is that, Zach?
Well, and I think it's just the overall grip. I mean, in Daytona, it's so fast. Really the only slow part of Daytona is the infield, and then again, you're on the loud pedal more than anything in the infield. So, I mean, the Mustang may not be the fastest at Daytona, but when you come to a track like this where you have to really slide the car around, a lot of throttle pickup, a lot of braking, when you have a big car like this, you're able to manipulate a lot of how the car moves, besides what other cars like aerodynamically pleasing cars do. So I may not be able to attest to it as much as maybe what David or you might talk about it a little bit, but as far as a sim racer goes, I feel like the Mustang might be a great fit for this track at Road America. Whoa.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that right there, Zach. I tend to agree. Definitely my team and I, we wanted to run the Mustang at Daytona for the iRacing 24, and we also struggled with it. Road America has a lot of 90-degree corners with big, heavy braking zones leading up to them, and that's something where the Mustang really, really excels. And so at a place like Road America, it's really going to be, in my opinion, very, very strong. But compare that to the Ferrari that's leading the mid-engine. It's going to be very nimble up through turn 6, 7, 8, and down through the carousel, being able to just kind of pull a gap on the Mustang, which is what we've been seeing. That the Mustang seems to be able to just, stretch its legs a little bit down the straightaways and really bury it off into the brake zones. But the Ferrari in the flowy bits is a little bit more balanced and a little bit more nimble and able to respond to the driver inputs when you're throwing the car back and forth, left, right, left, right, left, right.
And it sounds like we're going to have a quick word from Brian Max at the Hit Motorsports Center.
Thanks, Andrew. We're here at Hit Motorsports. We've got 10 Pro-Am teams competing right here in-house. And tonight we're going to have some pro drivers in the studio right here. We'll be talking to them about how their races are going. And, of course, it's going to be a very challenging evening. Back to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Brian. Very cool stuff that we're able to do with the Hit Motorsports campus, and very much appreciate what they've done for us this week. And we're going to keep monitoring this quick little issue. Give me just 1 second. I'm gonna do some stuff live here if we need to. We'll do it live briefly. But Zach, David, take us through one more time some of the stuff we're seeing, and maybe when we'll see our first pit stops.
Well, go ahead, David, if you've got something. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking through the field.
Yeah, so these cars in real life can go for about 50 minutes to an hour on fuel. So I'm guessing with us being, having the 50% fuel load here, I'm guessing we're probably going to start seeing pit stops within the next maybe 10, 15 minutes or so. I think that would be, my best educated guess. Whether or not we have enough time for these teams to take 4 tires while they are filling up the car with fuel, I'm not too sure. It might be close to where you want to just do your first pit stop. You do a splash of fuel, fill it back up, and then go. Or you take 2 tires on this stop. You take left sides on the first stop. You take right sides. You go back to the left. You take the right, or you go left, left, left. Then all 4. There's a couple different strategies that I'm going to be interested to see how they play out. But I think the way to do it here is probably going to be pack it full of fuel and take left side tires. We can probably get away with not necessarily changing right sides every single stop, just because this is a mostly right-hand track. So all of the load is going to be on those outside tires through the corners, which again is going to be primarily your left side tires. Like coming through the kink here as we ride along with Muradness M Squad, Oceana Coffee team with Morgan Burkhardt, coming through the carousel right here. There's a long sustained corner where it's going to just be eating those outside left tires, and then coming through here in the kink with it's just being so high speed, you chuck it in, you bury it on the nose, you're gonna burn that left front up, you're gonna get to power, it's gonna settle it back on the left rear. Big heavy brakes here, you're gonna just absolutely heat up those front tires, turn it in, beat that left side up again. So that would be, I think, my best guess as to what the strategy would be, given that we're not going to be stopped for a full 40 seconds while we wait on fuel. I don't think there's going to be enough time to be able to do 4 tires. But from watching here, Morgan chasing the 83 Grassroots car of Marc-Andre in front of him, it looks to me like Morgan's got a little bit more pace than the Ferrari ahead of him does, but I don't think he's really interested in passing him. I think that gets back to the possible fuel saving strategy from earlier. I think he's probably just trying to sit here and save and wait for his opportunity.
Currently taking a look at Micah behind the wheel at one of the Hip Motorsports sims, and this is a really cool look inside the Hip Motorsports Center, and just kind of a look at what these guys are doing. I'm trying to find Micah on my listing here of what car number he's in. Searching. I've been searching for. There's so many cars, it takes a while to find. Here we go. Pierogi Masala, it looks like. There we go. So we can ride on board with this McLaren, and that is the driver driving it currently. So this is really cool that we're able to do with Hip Motorsports, and I would very much recommend looking into Hip Motorsports, HIP Motorsports, located in Ontario.
And I love the look that this gives iRacing, because I mean, obviously you see the video game graphics in your widescreen, but you also see him behind the wheel, focused in, headset, gloves, wheel, pedals, screens all around him. It just goes to show that even though that some might consider this a video game, some might consider this just a hobby, a lot of people take this seriously, as they should. I mean, we've got people in here racing, trying to raise money for the kids, which, by the way, gents, we have raised over $50,000, or they have raised over $50,000 in CAD. So we're pretty much on the way to the goal of what they have set. But I mean, it just goes to show what iRacing has produced and what iRacing can produce, what kind of skill level that iRacing can produce.
Very cool look inside Hip Motorsports right now, and we'll keep talking about that as the night goes on. You mentioned, Zach, over $50,000 Canadian. Let's bring this up one more time. The QR code on the right side of your screen, a worthy highlight for sure. Sick Kids Foundation, located in Toronto, Canada. Please consider donating at the website below, or scan that QR code to find the fundraiser page for the event and for Sick Kids Foundation. We'll flash back up towards the front of the field here. Regulars Racing still leading the way, although they are approaching some lap traffic. And Zach, how much of a challenge is that behind the wheel? It's never easy coming up on a slower car, trying to find a way by, but why is it difficult here on iRacing?
Well, it is difficult in its own right, just because you're trying to gauge the speed of said lap car. Like, for instance, what we're seeing here, you see the lap car being able to keep speed in the straightaways, but brake a little bit early getting into the corners. This is going to throw the groove of the leader off just a little bit. You see him trying to get a good run. He will to the outside, coming into... I can't remember which turn that is, but you saw, it turned 8, but you saw him have to pedal it just a little bit coming up the hill because he didn't know exactly what the lap car was going to be able to do. Now the 23 of Columbine Racing behind the Porsche yet again, they're going to have to do the same thing, especially through this fast part of the track here in the kink. So he's gonna have to kind of gauge what he wants to do. You see him fighting the wheel. The Porsche will smartly get out of the way, but I mean, it's never an easy task to get around the pace car, a lap car, especially a lap car that's almost the same speed as you.
And it definitely takes a bit of skill from the faster car. You know, we always say that it's the responsibility of the faster car to make a clean and safe pass, but at the same time, it's the responsibility of the car being lapped, or even if it's a pass for position, it's the responsibility of the car being passed to be safe and predictable. You don't necessarily have to, like we see in Formula One racing, where, oh, you get the blue flag, you have to pull over to the side of the track and stop. That is, that is not a rule that we have in sports car racing. So it's the blue plastic passing flag in sports car racing is more of an advisory flag that says, hey, there's faster cars coming up behind you, just be aware. That's all that flag means here in sports car racing. So it's definitely a different there's some gamesmanship as well and some racecraft that the faster cars have to have, seeing where they're going to catch these lap cars and planning ahead. Okay, if I give up 2 car lengths on the braking into this corner, I'll be able to get the run on exit past them cleaner and lose less time to the guys behind me than whether I would be if I'm following them. So in this case, there's always a chance that the lap car, that the smart faster cars can put 3 or 4 lap cars between them, and that's the opportunity that they need to break the slipstream, break the draft, and run away.
Well, and I kind of wanted to piggyback on what David was saying there, Andrew. I'm sorry if I'm kind of jumping in where I'm not supposed to, but David did bring up a good point as far as what the lap cars do. You don't want a lap car just to pull over to the side and stop. You want them to maintain speed, but on a track as narrow as Road America, they really can't do that. I mean, every driver, every car has to use almost every bit of track. They can't really pull over besides the straightaways and just stop to let these cars by. So, I mean, they've got their own race to run. The leaders may have the advantage in speed and pace, but they've got their own race to run as well, and they can't really allow just to stop on the track. That's dangerous for every single driver, leaders and lap car included, as we continue to watch the top 2 just continuously pull away from the rest of the field.
And this top 2 has been super potent this opening half hour of this race. The Levesque and let's see, Savio Panicia behind the wheel for Columbine Motorsports. They have just been so good so far to get this race started. I don't know that anybody's got anything for them. I think the closest would be Morgan Burkhardt down there in the 3rd spot. Morgan has recently gone by Grassroots Racing, Marc-Andre Garon behind the wheel there. So a bit of a position change inside the top 5. And it's also now AV Esports with Rasim Fazui behind the wheel in the 5th position. Another position change within the top 5. Murad SM Squad Ginger Liveries and Adam Brockway dropping down to the 6th position. That puts Logan Paxa from SimCity Racing down to 7th. Polar Bear Racing, Quentin Warman behind the wheel in 8th. Event Matrix Blue with Jesse Webb in 9th. And how about Samson? David Sampson for Roberts Racing back here in the 10th spot. A very famous iRacing streamer. I'm sure he is live on his channel on Twitch. He is racing in 10th right now, starting this race as one of the pro drivers. Very cool to see Sam Sweat a part of this event.
I agree. I think having pro drivers in here, like big names come in and talk about how cool this event is huge, but also having Twitch streamers in here as well. I mean, as soon as you mentioned Samson, it didn't really ring a bell, but until you mentioned Sam Soyd, and it rung a bell to me. So, I mean, the pull that not only pro drivers have, but Twitch streamers have, as maybe as pros as well, just coming in and showcasing what they could do, showcasing for a good cause is huge for something like the cause that we're running for tonight for sim racing for the kids. So I think it's huge to have both ends of the spectrum as far as pro drivers and Twitch streamers in here.
Still watching Samsoy down in the 10th position right now. MPR Endurance team there in 11th, challenging in that Santander Ferrari. And here we go, pit stops. Cars coming in. Event Matrix Blue going to dive to the pit lane.
And I did kind of want to pick up on this with you, David. With only 50% fuel, which is going to allow, well, almost 30 minutes worth of racing, when do you stop? Do you go all the way? Do you try to push to the end? Do you want to come in a lap early? Like, what kind of strategy are we going to have to be watching here?
Well, so looking at it here, we only made it 26 minutes. Granted, we did have 2 pace laps, so we're going to lose 8 miles or almost 14 kilometers of fuel mileage. So right now, I think the strategy is probably just run the tank out, run it dry, but still try to save a little bit of fuel when you can, because right now assuming we were only to run 26 minutes from here to the end, we're still going to have 4 more stops. So if you're able to save and save and save and keep it at 4 more stops instead of having to come in for a splash and dash for a 5th stop, if that's going to be, it looks like, almost a minute less on pit road if you're able to save that much. So definitely I think the goal here is going to be to still save as much fuel as you possibly can, just to see how if you're able to cut out that last pit stop.
And we are working against a bit of a driver, drive time rule. So these guys have to meet a certain drive time per driver, and we'll have to find the exact details in the event bulletin board, but regardless, a bit of a drive time rule that these guys have to work with, so they've got to keep that in mind as well. There's a lot to keep in mind. It's more than just how do you try to work this game from the end of the race forward, I guess, in reverse. It's a difficult game to play. Here we go, into the pit lane from Aradness. Yeah. Morgan Burkhardt is in the pit lane.
Yeah, and we saw him go that lap extra, and I think what we're seeing here is, like David said, a bunch of fuel saving. We saw him earlier running behind some of his opponents, but right on their tail. He wasn't really looking to pass. He wasn't really trying to put his car in a bad position. He was pretty much right on their bumper. So I think what we're seeing here is, like David said, a little bit of that fuel saving game. Maybe that little extra lap could go a long way as the end of the race not starts to approach, but approaches.
And looking at it now, I see Morgan with that 68 car up in the air on the air jacks. So I can't see if they're changing 4 tires or 2, but definitely up in the air to get some new Pirelli P0 tires. And it looks like he's going to shake out right with the pretty much right where he was before the stop. So I think this will definitely be a good thing for him and this team long run.
Rasim Fazui just goes by Morgan Burkhardt as they blend back onto the racetrack. Grassroots Racing there, Marc-Andre Garon in 4th. 5th place, Adam Brockway. Who did we lose in that? That would have been...
The 23.
Yeah, the 23 car, Club Iron Motorsports. They have gone elsewhere. I'm trying to find them.
Down to 8th.
Yeah, down to P8.
There you go, and they made a driver change.
Their pit stop seems to be 10 seconds longer than the cars around them. So maybe they took 4 tires and everybody else took 2, or the driver change was a little bit slow. But looking at the stopwatch here, everybody else was 55, 53, 51, 52 seconds in pit lane, and the 23 was 1 minute and 1. So that tells me my best guess, educated guess, would be they took 4 tires instead of 2.
EM Levant continues to lead for Regulars Racing. AV Esports now into 2nd place, taking over from Club I Motorsports. and we will hit the 2-hour mark. Left to go here in about 30 more seconds. This race rocketing towards the end, the conclusion already, and that's kind of like 5 half hours, if you will. So if you were to break this down into a stick and ball game kind of thing, right? You have 4 quarters in football, 3 periods in hockey, 4 quarters in basketball, that kind of thing. It's like 5 half-hour periods. We're coming up on the end of the first one right here in about 10 more seconds.
And I kind of like the idea of how you said, just to kind of break it down that way, Andrew. Like, 2 hours and 30 minutes may not seem daunting, but when all your focus is on a screen right in front of you, and that's all you've got focused on, you've got a wheel that's constantly fighting back at you, you've got pedals that may also be fighting back at you, people all around you doing their own race, doing their own thing, it really starts to take a mental toll on you, maybe even a physical toll. So, to break it down like that kind of may put some drivers at ease. And I really like the idea of just kind of breaking it down like that. Keep it simple. Don't overdo yourself. Plenty of quarters to get through. We may be through the first quarter. We got plenty of more to get through. So kind of just a keep your calm type of words you were saying there, Andrew.
And not to get too technical on here, but the sports car racing term for those periods, if you will, is called stints. And typically we call stint lengths based on how far the cars can go on fuel. So like Andrew was saying, if you want to break this down, these cars, excluding the 2 pace laps, I think should be able to get 30 minutes. So just like Andrew said, 30-minute stints. I'd expect the teams with 2 drivers with 2 drivers to probably split this up down the middle. 3 drivers, every driver I'm guessing will probably do a double stint, an hour, and then the final push you probably put your fast guy back in to bring it home.
Watching the Muratus M Squad Oceanic Coffee Car along with Grassroots Racing and Muratus M Squad Ginger liveries. 3 cars in the battle, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, as you take a look at the Whiplash SimCam's race details. 2.5 hour, 150-minute race, unlimited tires, 50% fuel load that we've been talking a lot about so far. Pro and AM driver lineups. We've got a pro driver on each team mixed with 2 AM drivers, and it's a fixed setup race with unlimited fast fixes if needed.
And I love the pro-am kind of aspect to it. It kind of throws a little bit of a monkey wrench into everything. Do you start your AMs? Do you start your pros? When do you throw the pros in? When do you throw the AMs in? It just really mixes the bag of what we're going to see here tonight, as we're still riding on board with Adam Brockway from Muratus M Squad. He is currently P5, just kind of sitting behind both his teammate and the 83 of the Grassroots Racing team. He's probably, like David said, saving a little bit of fuel, might go that extra lap that we were talking about earlier. But I like that aspect of throwing in a pro and an amateur into a race onto the same team. It brings so much unpredictability, maybe some uneasiness, but a lot of good things to come from it, though, I feel like.
And it's definitely rewarding for both sides as well. It's when the amateur finally figures it out and puts that perfect lap together, it's a fantastic feeling as the AM driver, and at the same time the coach then gets the pro driver who has been the coach of the team, gets the satisfaction of, I helped my AM, I helped my driver figure this out, and now as a team we're much better off. And the pro driver is not only part of the team to be the fast guy. The pro driver is also there to be the coach, to be the cheerleader, to help pump up the amateur. Not to the point where the AM is necessarily overconfident and makes a mistake, but just to pump the AM up, to be like, hey dude, you've got this, keep it up, you're doing great, your lap times look good, you're keeping us in contention, you're making my life and my job a whole lot easier. And it's really great, I agree with you, Zach, to see the pros mixing it up with the EMs, and I think it's going to be, like you said, to be really interesting to see how the lineups play and the strategies and stuff. So I guess, Andrew, what would you just curious here, what would your strategy be if you're the team owner for one of these cars?
I think I would definitely start the Pro and let the AMs kind of fill in between, try to finish with the Pro as well if possible. I know, again, there's some drive time rules, so it would take a little bit of finagling, I think, but that would definitely be the goal overall. At the same time, you could have the Pro do the heavy lifting through the middle of the race. I think there's options for sure as to what you could do, because you could let the AM driver... Usually, an AM driver is going to be slower than a Pro driver, usually, right? So you could let the AM driver kind of back away out of all the mess at the start of the race, use the Pro driver to do the heavy lifting through the middle, and try to work on positions that way. I think you have options, but we're going to take a quick break here at Pit Stop TV for Rev TV, and be right back to you as one car goes off. Who was that real quick? That is the Gingerbread Man Racing Machine. You can't catch me. Well, he's been caught, unfortunately. That is Kevin, Chris, and Jonathan behind the wheel at Hip Motorsports, and they will go that lap down and fall back in 32nd position. But we will take a quick break here at Pit Stop TV and be right back to you.
Stuck planning another group event? Tired of the same old ideas? Hip Motorsports has exactly what you need. Drive Hip's top-notch racing simulators. Race incredible virtual cars and tracks in the Hip esports arena. Chirp your opponents and battle for the podium. Then relax in the Hip Lounge with some tasty food and drinks. It's a unique motorsports-inspired experience that your group will love and remember. Scan the code to plan your event. Hip Motorsports provides complete turnkey racing simulators for your home or business. We'll help you select a package that fits your needs and budget. Then build and deliver a fully supported turnkey solution. You just race. Hip Motorsports has the top sim racing brands and the expertise to get you into your dream racing simulator. Hip Motorsports is your sim racing source.
Welcome back to the Virtual Road America, taking a look at race leader Regulars Racing. Guillaume Levesque behind the wheel here in that number 57 Ferrari. And it's interesting to me, guys, we talk about the car choice for these drivers and these teams. The Ferrari leading the way. We talked about the Mustang sitting in second earlier. I'm surprised by this Ferrari 296 leading this race. This is not the car I would have expected to be out front, but we are racing with a lot of Ferraris and a lot of McLarens in this race. A few Porsches here and there, a Corvette or two. But mostly Ferrari and McLaren being the car of choice. Is there a reason for that, guys? I mean, is there a reason those two cars, even though they're wildly different in formula, as I put it, you've got a Ferrari versus a McLaren, very different race cars. Is there a reason those two are most popular?
I think they're actually a little bit more similar than you'd think. They're mid-engined cars, so with the weight of the motor being in the middle of the car, the center of gravity is going to be pretty much right in the middle, which is going to make it very instinctual to be able to drive the car at the limit, as opposed to some of the front engine rear drive cars like the Mustang or the Mercedes, where you've got all of the weight up front. So when you hit the brakes, all of that weight transfers even more towards the front. It makes things, it makes the car in NASCAR terms a little bit tight. In sports car terms, it gives it some understeer. And then you take the Porsche, the 911, where you have the engine in the back. All of that weight is on the rear axles. When you brake, it's a little bit more unstable because it's just trying to pick up that weight off the rear and plant it to the front, and there's less weight up front. But the trade-off is with the Porsche, you've got all of that weight on the rear axle, so when you get off the corner, you stand on it, all of that weight transfers to the back tires, and you plant and you absolutely fire out of the corner. So those are your two extremes, but you've got the Ferraris and the McLarens, mid-engine, rear drive, all of that weight is in the middle. You've got the mixture, the best of both worlds with what the cars are absolutely capable of doing, which makes it a little bit more nimble, a little bit easier to drive as we see these leaders working on the traffic here.
on board with Adam Brockway racing for Moranis M Squad Ginger Liveries, and it's interesting the approach that Moranis has taken to this event. We've got 3 or 4 cars, I think, in this race, and they're attacking up front big time. 2 in the top 5. It's really impressive always to see their approach to these kinds of events. They always bring out their best, and I gotta say, I've very much become accustomed to seeing Moranis out front thanks to the North American Racing League that we cover here at Pit Stop TV, and it's just very at home to see a couple of these liveries out front of the field, a couple of McLarens in this case, I think, right? No, we're on board with Ferrari, of course, but a McLaren, I believe, in 3rd, and Ferrari here in 5th. It's very much what I'm used to anyways. I'm not sure about you guys.
Well, I'm more particularly, like you said, Andrew, Ferrari and McLaren not really towards the front. Like we're used to seeing more. So BMW, maybe even some Porsches, maybe like we were talking about earlier, just this mixed bag of vehicles all up here towards the front. I think we've got 2, 3, 4 manufacturers maybe inside the top 10. It brings so many not question marks, but hype to the race as to see whose car's gonna benefit from all of it.
A quick look here at Polar Bear Racing. Clinton Warman behind the wheel of the 6th place McLaren, car number 73. And just behind, Logan Paxa still behind the wheel of this Acura for SimCity Racing, one of the few Acuras in the field. A brand new car to iRacing added in the December build, so about a month ago, and has very much taken its place nicely in this GT3 field. I was taking some laps in this car myself yesterday, and very much like the way it feels. I'm pretty particular, David, you know me, very particular in what I like in a race car, but I gotta say, I really like the feel of this Acura around Road America. It's a track I struggle with, so to have a car that I think feels good here is a big statement. I really enjoyed the way this Acura felt, but there's qualities in each one of these cars that I think is good, and it's just a lot of fun, honestly, to go on iRacing, go around Road America in any one of these GT3 cars.
It's definitely a different statement than I would have expected you to say, because I know that you've had your disagreements with Road America on track, and you've not necessarily been the biggest fan. I absolutely love this place. It's, in my opinion, one of the best tracks that we've got here in the States. And hearing that you're talking so highly of the Acura here is definitely a breath of fresh air, and I'm enjoying that. I think if it was me personally, I think I'd like to be driving the Mustang. That car just makes all the right noises. It might not necessarily be the fastest, but I think it makes all the right noises. But what about you, Zach? What would you be with this group?
Well, from all cars available, I would probably pick. I've been partial to the BMW my whole iRacing career, so I'd probably have to go with the BMW. But like you said, just with the Mustang kind of being the big chunky car it is, me personally, I like to slide them around a little bit, like to use the throttle to help turn the car, and I think a big chunky car does that. So my pick of the group would probably be the Mustang, but overall, I'd probably, even though we haven't seen one towards the front just yet, I think I'd still have to stick with my BMW.
You know what we need? We need a Hyundai Genesis GT3 car.
We need the Lexus, brother.
Well, we've got the Hyundai Genesis GTP LMDH car coming soon. I've seen rumblings about that, and that's very cool to see. But we need to get a Genesis GT3 car, in my opinion. David, you've driven a Genesis, a really nice car in itself, and it'd be cool to see a GT3 program there.
Yeah, absolutely. I miss my old Genesis. I think it was a 2005 or 6 Genesis that my grandfather gave me when he decided to give up his license, and it was definitely one of the most comfortable cars that I've ever driven, and I definitely have been looking, have been looking at the Hyundai and the Genesis brand, for the next car coming forward. And you definitely, have to say a big shout out to everything that they've done for us and for this, for this event as well. Hyundai's been a huge partner here for sim racing for the kids, and it's definitely a great brand, and I can't wait to see their IMSA program come to life soon.
Well, it sounds like we've got a word from Brian Max behind the scenes at the HIP Motorsports Center. Brian, take it away.
Aiden Goodrich, you're racing with Trackmaster Racing tonight. And you're racing with 2 AMs. How have you guys been managing that?
Just with a lot of comfort, right? We haven't been, too, I guess, uptight about it all. There's a lot of, give and take with ideas for stuff like brake bias or how we're approaching strategy. We've just been kind of treating it more as a a fun charity event, right? So we're just having fun with it.
But we're all racers here, so we all want to perform. I understand that. And there is a potential for rain at some point during this race. Have you guys considered that?
Gonna be honest, not much. I'm comfortable enough in the rain as is, so hopefully it comes at some point during my stint. If not, I'll be trying to coach the guys through it, while they're driving. But we'll just take it as it comes.
I appreciate it. It's going to be interesting having some rain at Road America, that's for sure. Last question for you. How does this sim racing event compare to other sim racing events you've done in the past?
It's really big. That's one of the big things. There's just so many cars on track at the same time. It's like a really, really big event to be a part of. So it's fun, and it's also very hectic with practices and with just kind of making our way through traffic, especially at a track like Road America. It's pretty narrow compared to other tracks. So it's just been a lot of preparing for dealing with traffic and dealing with kind of mayhem going on around us and keeping our head cool with that.
Well, Caden, we wish you the best of luck tonight and have a great time in your stint. And back to you, Andrew, in the booth.
Thank you, Brian. A word there with one of the drivers of the HIP Motorsports Center. A really cool look inside of what's going on there. I love everything they've done with that side of things, but let's go through the running order up front a little bit. Regulars Racing still out front in car 57, AV Esports in second, Grassroots Racing in third, Muratus M Squad in fourth. So that battle has actually changed a little bit here, guys. Grassroots Racing moving up a spot into that third position and passing Muratus M Squad.
And looking at I've been watching these guys on my screen here for the last couple laps, and I can't really tell who's faster. I definitely think the Muradness car with Adam Brockway here, I think he definitely wants to be ahead of the 83 Grassroots Racing car of Marc-Andre, as he's showing him the nose here coming up top of the hill. It's definitely been good fun to watch, these two guys play chess.
Play chess at 100 plus miles per hour, Zach. I mean, how much fun is it battling these GT3 cars? Yes, each car is a little bit different, but you've got 2 Ferraris right here, very even.
Oh, it's so much fun, especially like you said, even. It's so hard to pass a car that you're even with. Maybe using the draft a little bit, maybe using a little bit of mind games and playing, like you guys said, play that game of chess. If you move here, I know I'm going to move here, and if you move here, I know where my next move is going to be. So trying to bait your opponent into a mistake, and then all the while, big move going into Canada corner. You saw him dive the nose, maybe a crossover. Yes, the crossover may not happen. It will. It re-clears him going coming into the final corners of Road America. What a battle.
Really cool stuff here for the third position. This is just some of the racing throughout the field. Now, I gotta say, so we're gonna break the fourth wall down a little bit and talk to you sim racers out there. You'll probably notice we've been very much selective up front. It's a little bit difficult for us with some of the limitations we have with the blinking you saw earlier to mix around the field, but we will try and do so at our limited discretion. So we'll do so when we can, but for right now, focusing on the battling here for third position. And There's some more lap traffic up ahead. Another one of those McLarens, it looks like. And how is that? So, David, we just saw these guys swap spots back in Canada Corner, Bill Mitchell Bend at around turn 14. Why is it now that you're seeing this car right ahead pull away from Adam Brockway? Why is he able to get away?
He was using the whole way down the I want to call it back straightaway, but I guess here it's the middle straight between 3 and 5. He was able to get the draft off of the 54 car, which was able to kind of pull him down the straightaway and get him a little bit of a gap, get Marc-Andre a little bit of a gap on Adam. But it looks like Adam's kind of been able to pull that back in here into underneath the Speedfield Bridge. And it looks like we should probably be coming up on pit stops within the next couple laps. So it could just be that Mark had a little bit of a slip the last lap out of the carousel or into the kink here, which let Adam get up to him in Canada Corner. And now Adam, could just be sitting back and waiting for these pit stops and just playing it a little bit safe, given that we still have over an hour and a half to go.
Still watching this battle for third place. The number 7 drops back a spot, and one of our Miranda's cars has dropped out of this battle here. So that was the, I forget what number, but it was the Oceana Coffee car. I'm going to see if I can find them quickly. Do you guys have a read on where they've dropped down to? I think they must have pitted.
They are down to 26th, and I was going to kind of talk about that. They did pit. They've already gone through they are in their third driver. Craig Bray is taking over for Miranda's Oceana Coffee. That squad he has taken over. So as far as we look now, we've already got cars that have pitted twice, and they've already gone through two drivers. So a little bit of strategy as far as driver stints are starting to play out here, guys.
Looking back at it, it looks like Oceana Coffee had to pull over and tow back to pit lane for some reason.
So a problem there for that crew, but they get it sorted and get back out on the racetrack, maybe out of the battle up front, but that's okay. There's battles all over this racetrack. Here's one of them. Actually, this is in the pit lane. A couple of cars, I was going to say, very close together on the racetrack. Well, that's why. A couple of cars in the pit lane as they will continue on with their pit stop. Here's Clubline Motorsports. We talked about them earlier on in the day. Running now in the, let's see, when the graphic loads, hang on, 6th position. Aiden, Luis, and Grata currently behind the wheel.
And I'm fully expecting these guys to be coming into pit lane here at the end of the lap as we see the 19 Corvette trying to pull out of the way and let these guys get back on with their race.
We were talking about them earlier being P2, right now P6. Saw that little bit of a slip just because of strategy call. Now is going to be the time to see if that strategy call bears any kind of fruit. If taking maybe those extra tires or that extra time to do whatever they needed to do is going to help them leapfrog back into the position that they were when they tried that position call. As we're looking at Alex Ellis here, less than half a second behind Sampson, but I mean, still these guys nose to tail here, especially right here around the middle part of the pack.
Gladiator Road Racing here for Alex Ellis, chasing down the Roberts Racing Machine of David Sampson, currently behind the wheel. 7th and 8th on the racetrack, and they are each going to pit right here. How about that? A battle into the pit lane. Let's see who comes out first.
Oh, big braking getting into pit road. That might bear either a black flag or maybe a little bit of time gain. Maybe he comes out right on his bumper. Maybe an opportunity to pass either on pit road or on track. Every little second counts, especially coming down pit road.
And this is a little bit surprising to me because it looks like Sampson here on his first run was able to get an extra lap, get a 13th lap out of his tank of fuel. But here I'm only showing him coming in on the 12th, so he wasn't able to get that extra lap. That makes me wonder if he was, decided to start pushing and close that gap down a little bit. But it looks like everybody here has been was able to get the extra lap in this stint compared to the first run, just because we didn't have the pace laps. So it's definitely interesting to see how the fuel strategy is working out with this, with people trying to save or not.
PM Levesque will hand the car over to Christopher Landy as it'll be Aiden Vickery behind the wheel now in that number 27 Ferrari for Gladiator Road Racing. And look at that rejoin from the Roberts Racing Group. That was right close. That's Jordan Malhi now behind the wheel. And there's a look at that number 55 car, or 555 car. That was a really scary rejoin in front of a couple of teammates, it looks like. That is going to be Scott McGuire for Event Matrix Blue and Kenny Reedman for Event Matrix Orange. That nearly impacted the back end of that Roberts Racing Ferrari. That was close.
And I think that the heads-up driving from both of those drivers, I mean, it's easy to see the guy coming out of pit road when you're the first car to see him, but when you're behind another car and another car decides to come out from pit road, you don't really see him. So the heads-up driving from both of those drivers, both to give each other space, each other room, was really big. But what the 555 did there, he kind of put two cars in between him and the 27 that was right on his bumper coming into pit road, now over a second and a half, 2 seconds, maybe even 3 behind him. So maybe that was I don't think that might have been the absolute play, but he did put two cars in between, Roberts Racing put two cars in between themselves and the 27.
And looking at my sheet here, I believe the 27 has put in one of their AM drivers, and the 555 definitely has one of their faster, more experienced guys who's going to understand how to bring in these Pirelli P0 tires that were on here and sim much quicker than Aiden Vickery might know. And that's that's nothing against Aiden. It's just he's the AM driver and he's newer and you're learning, and the iRacing sim as well as real life racing. There is an art to being able to bring slick tires in to their operating window quicker or slower than others, and it's definitely an art to learn how to be able to quickly and properly bring these tires in. And I think that might be where we saw some of the gap form.
Lead change, Christopher Landy and Regulars Racing down to third position. Ozzy Millwane and AV Esports up to first. So a lead change big time here at about the hour and a half left to go mark. Very big lead change. And the number 971 Acura from Logan Paxa and SimCity Racing, they have not made a driver change yet. Logan's been behind the wheel all race, I believe. And they have moved up to second position. I think that lack of driver change is helping them right now because they leapfrogged a bunch of cars. But while we're talking, let's take a look back at the HIP Motorsports Center. Let's throw back to Brian.
Jonathan Woolridge, you are racing in this event with Gingerbread Man Racing. Gotta love that name. Really appreciate it. How are you managing racing with two AM drivers?
I really enjoy it. Honestly, it's a lot of fun. You kind of get that camaraderie going. The two guys that I have, they're locals to HIP, so they know the sim really well. They know iRacing really well. They definitely surpassed my talent, that's for sure. So that's okay. And they definitely came up with a really cool name for our team. So
that's for sure. And you're appropriately racing a Porsche tonight, which is a lot of fun. And talk about what it's like working with your co-drivers on a strategic race like this.
Yeah, it's fun. Once you get three drivers into the mix, it's like any other endurance racing. It's a lot of fun. So you kind of have to figure out your strategy, who's the strongest driver, who wants to qualify. And on top of that, you got to throw in the fuel stops as well. So it's a lot of fun strategizing and figuring it out. And it makes that kind of iRacing level that much more enjoyable when there's three of you going at it, for sure.
Really appreciate that, of course. And we're talking a lot about racing tonight, but at the end of the day, we're racing for Sitkins Foundation. So, that it's not pure racing tonight. We're here to raise some funds to help families and children who might need some help. What does it mean to you to be participating in an event like this, supporting Sitkins Foundation?
Yeah, we got that great video from James at the start before we went going, and he's absolutely right. Like, if you're from around this area, you know how much Sick Kids does for a lot of the youth, and honestly, it's just a great foundation. You really do feel like if you're donating, it's actually going somewhere to help a lot of people. I know a lot of families have been touched by Sick Kids, and they help so much. So I've been doing it from the start. So every year I look forward to this event. It's so much fun. A lot of fun with all the other drivers and the AMs and the pros. So it's really awesome.
It's been an action-packed evening so far. Good luck to you guys, and back to you in the booth.
Thank you, Brian and company. And that is another look back inside the HIP Motorsports Center. Just glad to check in with them from time to time when we're able. And this is a really cool aspect of this broadcast and something we don't get to do very often, if at all, ever. This is the first time we're doing it here at Pit Stop TV, something like that. So very fun. But we've got a battle on our screen for the race lead, guys. This is even more fun, I feel like, an Acura versus a Ferrari for the race lead here at Road America.
I think you were talking about it earlier, Andrew. Logan Paxa has not changed, or excuse me, they have changed driver. Well, excuse me, I'm looking at practice. I apologize. They have not changed drivers. They had changed over some of these tabs, but like you said, he hasn't changed any drivers, so he's trying to get as much time as possible to try to extend possibly any kind of time that they might lose changing drivers. But here he is, Logan Paxa, on the heels of trying to take over the lead from AV Esports.
And another thing too to point out is Ozzy just got in the car. He's only 2 or 3 laps in the car right now, and he's trying to bring himself up to temperature, bring himself up to speed. And Logan's been in here for 29 laps now, so he knows what his car's doing, and he knows, you know, he's comfortable, he's ready to go, and it looks like he's trying to try to show the nose a little bit and get in Ozzy's head. You know, am I going left? Am I going right? As he's sucking up with the slipstream here, I'd expect to go down to 5.
And here comes that move from the SimCity Racing Machine. That'll be a move into turn 5. This is for the race lead at Road America, and it's a lead change. Ozzy Milwane gives that lead up to SimCity Racing 971 and Logan Paxa, who's been behind the wheel all race long. No driver change yet from that camp. It's coming soon, though. Next time they pit, I think they're going to have to make that driver change. It's going to be interesting to see who gets in the car next.
Yeah, and I think if it's one of your AMs, you know, you're kind of coaching them right now. You probably got them looking intensely on what you're doing, trying to get them, like David was saying earlier, coached up as much as possible right now. But Logan's in his own groove. Like David said, he's been out here the longest. He knows what the car needs. He knows what the car wants. He knows what he needs to do to give it to the car. So, obviously with that, he's pulled away a little bit. But I do kind of like what David said earlier. Ozzy only being out here 2 or 3 laps, being able to both not only hold him off for at least a little bit, but not let the rearview mirror get way too big. You know, not let the rearview mirror be the only thing that he's watching. He was able to keep his eyes outside on the windshield, or through the windshield, not really be looking back. So he's doing a good job right now, just kind of keeping temp, keeping close, and maybe something happens where he gets back up into the lead.
And that reminds me of one of the things that one of my first racing coaches, Terry Earwood, always said to me was, "Hey kid, the windshield is bigger than the rear view for a reason. Eyes forward, eyes up. Do what you got to do. If there's somebody behind you, you know, run your race, do your thing, run your line. If they're faster than you, they're going to get around you. But don't focus on it." Like he said, the windshield is bigger than the rear view. Eyes up, focus forward, do what you got to do, and how, you know, whatever happens, happens. And it looks like, you know, Logan was able to pull a little bit of a gap here. He was about a 10th quicker on the last lap. The team's fast laps are within 2/10 of each other, so I'd suspect that Ozzy's able to hang on for a little bit, and just kind of sit there and learn. Maybe he's going to be able to learn something from Logan, and you know, figure something out that Logan's doing differently through one of the corners that'll help you know, change that. And you know, sometimes it's a good thing to be passed and see where the other guy's beating you, and learn from that, and then turn around and, you know, give it right back to him and go make that pass back.
Want to give a big thank you to Canadian Motorsports Academy, Hyundai Canada, Auto Eclectic Motorsports, Vehicle Dynamics Group, the Garage Guy Barbecue, HIP Motorsports, Georgetown Hyundai, Muddy Moose, Larder Lake, Breyer Brothers Brewing Company, Rev TV, and of course Sick Kids Foundation. And something cool going on at this event is the team that donates, or is able to get the highest donations from this event, is actually going to get a track day sponsored by Auto Eclectic Motorsports. Now, I have to dive back into the details exactly where that's going to be at and some of the other specifics, but of course, a very, very cool addition to this event, a sponsored track day by Auto Eclectic Motorsports. That is hard to beat in the iRacing.com space, to take sim racers and put them on the real racetrack That is a very, very difficult thing to beat. As there we go, our race leader peels off into the pit lane. This is an interesting time to pit. I'm actually very surprised by this. He's only 5 laps into his run, so I guess he's coming up on that drive time and has to come in.
Or they're starting to think about
End of the race.
timing the race.
Yeah.
If they do a driver change here, I think it'll be for drive time. If he stays in the car here, then my educated guess is going to be it's to back time the race.
On board, we'll see who gets in the car. It's going to be somebody different than Logan Paxa. It's going to be Chris Stewart getting in the car. So driver change and maybe to back time the race, like you're saying there, David. I think a combination thereof, just a strategic opportunity for them to come in and pit. We'll flash back up to the car that's going to take over now second position in Clubline Motorsports. AV Esports will take away the race lead. And we're coming up on another break with Rev TV, so we'll be right back in just a few. Don't go anywhere. More racing action here on Pit Stop TV, continuing with sim racing for the kids.
Stuck planning another group event? Tired of the same old ideas? HIP Motorsports has exactly what you need. Drive HIP's top-notch racing simulators. Race incredible virtual cars and tracks in the HIP Esports Arena. Chirp your opponents and battle for the podium. Then relax in the HIP Lounge with some tasty food and drinks. It's a unique motorsports-inspired experience that your group will love and remember. Scan the code to plan your HIP Motorsports. Provides complete turnkey racing simulators for your home or business. We'll help you select a package that fits your needs and budget. Then build and deliver a fully supported turnkey solution. You just race. HIP Motorsports has the top sim racing brands and the expertise to get you into your dream racing simulator. HIP Motorsports is your sim racing source.
We rejoin you at the virtual Road America. Nothing changing out front. Still AV Esports and Clubline Motorsports out front of this race. Things are changing behind them, though. As we welcome you all back, I want to give another shout out to our partners with this event. Canadian Motorsports Academy, Hyundai Canada, Auto Eclectic Motorsports, Vehicle Dynamics Group, The Garage Guy Barbecue, HIP Motorsports, Georgetown Hyundai, Muddy Moose, Larder Lake, Briar Brothers Brewing Company, Rev TV, and of course, Sick Kids Foundation. A big thank you to those who make it happen for us at Pit Stop TV as well. Whiplash SimCams, ATVO, CC's Business, and Cody Williams Design. Taking a look here at the Ford Mustang from Clubline Motorsports, running in second position, 13 seconds back to the third place machine of Muradness M Squad Ginger Liveries. And this is an interesting spot to be in here, Zach, trying to chase down the race leader. 4.5 seconds back, though. How do you manage that kind of gap and try to cut it down?
Well, first and foremost, you don't want somebody right on your tail. That's the biggest hitch, and especially having your teammate right around you. So I mean, it's difficult to break down that kind of gap, especially when you've got all these cars that are on the same pace as you. So right now, all you're really focused about doing is just hitting your marks, hoping that lap cars don't really mess up any kind of groove. As you see the 23 closing greatly right there coming into turn 1. He's going to be able to clear coming into turn 2. But you don't really jump out of anything that you're doing. I mean, what you're doing has gotten you to this point. So Just keep doing what you're doing. I think there's still a lot of racing to go. Sure, we're under an hour and a half, but still a lot of racing to go. A lot can happen in an hour and a half.
Yeah, we're quickly approaching that halfway mark, and David, this is about the point in time where that mental toughness becomes so important, because you've already run about half this race, and of course, we do have driver changes. Nobody's running the full race, but still, you're locked in completely to this kind of race, locked in as a team member even, or even spotting or anything like that. You're locked in mentally. So how important is it to maybe have those brief little distractions, maybe check your phone when you're not in the car, or step away from the sim for a moment? How important is that in a team race like this to get those breaks away from this mentally demanding kind of race?
It's definitely really helpful to, when you're driving, obviously you need to be focused 100% on your job. When you're not in the car, typically it especially in these iRacing.com simulation events, it's always helpful when you've got a team of 3 or more you've got your driver, and then you've got somebody. Typically you want to have somebody that the driver gets along with really well. Somebody that it almost to the point of being able to finish each other's sentences. Easy for me to say, as we see the 7 and the 55 start to battle each other out. It's always nice to have somebody that knows what the driver's thinking, to be a little bit ahead of them and to try to keep them calm if a lap car does something unpredictable, or another driver starts to kind of get under your guy's skin, and then to have the third guy be there to pay attention to the overall race as a whole, and being able to keep an eye on what's the other car doing pit strategy wise, and how are we on the drive time, and do that. But yes, it's very good to, at least from my experience, to 2 or 3 laps before you're supposed to get in the car, go take a restroom break, or go fill up your cup of water, do something to relax, and some of these drivers, they have their real life rituals as well. Some people always put their left glove on first, and then their right glove, or they do their right shoe and then the left shoe. It's little things like that just kind of centers everybody and brings you back. That's really important to do, even though this is a simulator. Some people might call it a video game. Even though this is not a real life event, it's still important to be able to bring yourself back to where you can focus and put all your energy onto the battle at hand, or going for the race win, or whatever you've got next.
Well, what's cool is we kind of make this a real-life event with HIP Motorsports. This becomes a real-life event for a lot of these drivers. Going to HIP Motorsports, getting behind the wheel, and physically switching in and out of the sim makes it a real event for them. So very cool stuff going on at HIP, and we'll keep checking in with those guys as we have the ability. It sounds like we're going to do so here soon, so be ready for that. But we're watching the Newport Sales Group 757 work on TK Racing and Kyle Rennie. For Newport Sales Group, it's Owen Howell behind the wheel, currently in that car. They battle for 27th on the racetrack. An Acura versus a Ferrari, with a Mercedes there in the background for Thay's Super Lap Yellow. And here comes a move into turn 5, maybe? Yes, Owen Howell up the inside, and that will be a pass for position from Newport Sales Group moving on through this race. Now back up. Whoa, hang on. We've got to go back to that. Contact. Yeah, there was contact into turn 6, and they sorted out now. I felt like Monaco all over again. That was, woof. They're still racing.
A little bit of a protective line. The 61 of the TK Racing, Kyle Rennie, goes a little wide there. The 757 of Owen Howell kind of took a protective line going into that corner there, and it kind of maybe threw the 61 off just a wee bit. I don't know. Maybe dove it in a little bit too hard on the outside, but hard racing throughout the pack, and I'm glad that you were able to show that, Andrew, just because we're able to finally filter through the pack maybe a little bit. I'm not for sure what you got on your end, but it was cool to finally highlight a little bit of what's going on through the rest of the field.
Well, it sounds like we have got Brian Max ready to talk to another driver or member of this event, so we're going to let them get ready, and I see Brian's talking to the camera over there. Waiting for the go-ahead from Robert Hill Jr., our producer on site, to let us know that we're ready, but in the meantime, we're currently looking at the number 14 car, Eric Vengroff from Sicarius Racing, down in 36th position, right ahead of Clubline Motorsports, and Aiden Ingrata behind the wheel. And Clubline will work on by nice and easily. Ozzy Milwane still leading the way for AV Esports. Not much changing right now, but it's all going to, once these drivers hit to the pit lane one more time, I think this race is going to take one of its final forms. I think we're going to see kind of who's up front at that point and get these last couple of driver changes out of the way. I think this next round of pit stops will really be when we see a lot start to take form again for the end of the race. I think that's when we'll get an idea of who's going to be where.
And usually it's not the last stop that kind of starts to really show the strategy. It's usually the second to the last stop that really starts to show show everyone's cards, show where everyone was banking on and what they were trying to do, what their strategy lies. I mean, obviously we knew coming in the time of how long the runs were, but we didn't know what the driver swaps were going to look like, what tire strategy, everything combined into that. So I think the second to the last stop is going to show what everybody's strategies are, what their cards had. So it's going to be very, very interesting once we get to that point.
On board with Ozzy Milwane. And we will stay on board with our race leaders. We go back to Brian and Mark Wilkins. A quick little conversation there. We get a lot of fun to check in with them.
You are, of course, old friends, and you've been driving for Hyundai for quite a while. What's different this year is Hyundai Canada has sponsored this event, and one of your duties tonight was to drive the pace car.
Yeah, I mean, that was really fun. Just great to see Hyundai Canada participate in such a wonderful event for the hospital. But yeah, no, my duty was to drive the Elantra NTCR at the front of the field here, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It sure did. It looked a little confusing from the perspective of the broadcast, but I'm sure it was amusing. You're also participating in this event as a driver, and unfortunately, that has not gone so well.
Yeah, we had a few little technical issues there, so unfortunately doing more spotting or observing, I suppose. But having fun watching. There's just so many talented drivers out there. It's amazing. I looked at the qualifying times, and it's pretty impressive. So can learn a lot, and I'll take the opportunity tonight to watch the race and see what I can pick up.
Yeah, we're here to race, and of course we're all competitive. But the real reason that we're here is to support Sick Kids Foundation, and you have a little bit of a personal connection there.
Yeah, Sick Kids has been amazing. I mean, instrumental. Our daughter is a patient, has been since she was born, and thanks to the incredible doctors, nurses, they're just amazing all around, and we're eternally grateful for all of that. So this event, it hits close to home, and yeah, it's heartfelt. So I love to see the support. Amazing donations. It's just incredible. So I wish I was driving, but just happy to see so many people out there having fun, and all for a great cause.
Well, I think we're all having fun because it is for a great cause. And Mark, thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the event, and back to you guys in the booth.
Thank you, Brian and Mark, and a good quick little chat there with Mark Wilkins. Good to hear from him and about his pace car experience, something I didn't think he probably didn't think would be added to his 2025 bingo card, but that's a whole lot of fun to hear from them, Zach, and check in again at the HIP Motorsports Center. But moving on in this race, an hour and 12 minutes to go and counting. And AV Esports continues to lead with Ozzy Milwane. Now, earlier in this race, it seemed like they would be contenders, but not quite for the race lead. It's interesting how they swapped from third to first in one of those pit stops and have not looked back since. This number 94 Ferrari is looking really good, guys.
It really is looking really good. He's not really wiggling the car. There's really no, issues coming out of the corner. He's not correcting anything. He's not loose or too hot getting in. Everything just seems really smooth. He's putting down really good lap times, especially with the lap cars he's been dealing with. So I think Ozzy's doing a really good job of keeping his own sanity and keeping the car in one piece.
And looking at the lap times between the two drivers that have gotten in the car so far, these guys are right on top of each other. And I think consistency wins these endurance races for sure. And that's definitely, I think, looking at these guys, their overall fastest lap compared to the 23 behind them is a tenth off. So the outright pace is right there, but the average lap between the two drivers is just absolutely on top of each other, which I think is why you're starting to slowly see these guys pull away from the 23 Clubline Motorsports car behind them.
Yeah, they've been about 5 seconds ahead for the last several minutes, so really stabilizing here, but maybe starting to put some edge on that number 23 car and start to drive away ever so slightly. Roberts Racing currently rides in the third spot with Jordan Molly behind the wheel. That was David Sampson's car a little while ago. We'll see if Sam Sweat gets back behind the wheel at all. But I believe each driver will have one go, I think, in the car, maybe two, depending on the way these guys play their drive time and sort things out. Regardless, Roberts Racing is starting to look good. As we'll find out again, I think, once we get past that hour mark, but we'll find out very quickly who is in what position for this race. It's too early to tell. Still, it's way too early to tell who's going to be where, because we can see a crash, we can see an off, we can see a long pit stop, we can see a different strategy start to shine later on in this race. These guys are all going to get closer and closer as these strategies get more similar and more similar, because they're wildly different right now to get a different goal in the end. Well, I guess work to the same goal, but a different path to get to that same goal in the end. Right, you've got some drivers pitting earlier to get fuel at one spot, some drivers going a little bit later in the stint to get fuel there. A lot of different routes, all to get to the same goal. And as we get closer to that same goal, for example, here we go, 9 minutes before the hour mark, we're going to see the 555 come in and pit, not where I would have expected them to pit. So again, different paths, all to try and get to that same goal. We're going to see AV Esports do the same, Clubline Motorsports do the same. And I think we're going to see the Miranda's cars come back and control this race for a little bit, because they're on such a different strategy. But as we get closer, as these paths get closer and closer to that same goal, that's where this race is going to start to take shape, and we'll start to see who is where.
And I think you hit the nail right on the head, Andrew. You'll start to really see these strategies come closer and closer together, and no race is done until you cross the start-finish line with the checkered flag waving. Then no race is done. We've seen it time and time again about drivers thinking that they have it until the very last corner, or something happens on the very last lap. This race more than likely will come down to it, and I don't think that's gonna, nothing's ever set in stone. So you may be behind the 8 ball now, or you may be way ahead of it, whichever one you just kind of land on. But no matter what, this race is not over, and it will not be over until you cross that finish line with the checkered flag in the air.
And with these guys being able to go just shy of 30 minutes, we're still going to have 2 more stops. So I think we're going to start getting into the strategy call as we see a spin off of, I think that was turn 3. It's going to be interesting to see when people and teams want to start back timing the race if they haven't done so already, because it looks like we're going to be maybe 8-9 minutes short on fuel. That's 4 laps here, 4 or 5 laps here. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how these guys start playing, and I think we're probably on the next stop going to start seeing that start to play out.
Aiden Vickery now in the pit lane there. We'll check in with James Houghton out of Canada in the Polar Bear Racing Machine, try to chase down Jeff Fleischman and Maradness M Squad. Just ahead of, who is that right behind? That is actually going to be one of the Hip Motorsports cars. Vin, Jason, and Eric there, as they are well down the order right now. They've had a rough road to get to this point in time, it looks like, with the 2 Track Bind podcast on the side of that car. Let's flash up forward to a battle between teammates then, Craig Bray and Jeff Fleischman. This is the closest battle inside the top 10 as we speak. A couple of Miradis cars, a McLaren leading a Ferrari, between the two anyway. And the number 68 looks to have the advantage at this point in time. That's the McLaren with Craig Bray behind the wheel.
And these two have kind of been on top of each other all race long. Craig Bray and Jeff Fleischman, drivers for the Miradis M Squad, respectively. So, I mean, their pace has been even, their strategy has been different, but yet again, the strategies crossed to the point where now here they are on the same straightaway, going into the same corner, battling for a higher position. So, I mean, each strategy is uniquely different. Every situation is uniquely different, but it all comes back together, and it all kind of clashes together. Even with an hour to go, you see how the strategies come right back to each other. Maybe just for a little bit as we look at Patrick Wood's Toth, excuse me.
Yeah, a car we haven't seen yet today, the 711 with driver's paddock on the side of that car. Good to check in with them and see how they're doing as they ride in the third position, somewhere about 4 seconds back of Roberts Racing, that now sits 19 seconds back of our race leader, Ozzie Milwane, for AV Esports. And it was a very similar pit stop between AV Esports and Roberts Racing. They took each about 22 seconds in the box, so I'm surprised they're this far apart. But that just goes to show again how much time Ozzie Milwane has been putting on the field. Here's a look at the number 4 car. No Content Racing Team. Running in 23rd spot currently. And as I say that, we've got another check-in with Brian at the HIP Motorsports facility. Brian, take it away.
Gavin Sanders, you're with Esports Racing Canada at this event tonight. Tell us about balancing pace with consistency here.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky at Road America. There's a lot of tire fall off. You have to manage a lot of different things in terms of focus. There's draft to play into as well. So keeping with the car in front and minimizing any time lost with lap traffic and such is very key. But obviously just being consistent and making sure that we're precise with everything that we're doing, whether it be pit stops, driver changes, or just generally running laps. I think circulating until the end of the race, we'll see where we end up. But it's definitely crucial to be as fast as possible for many laps of time. So
it's tough to do in an environment like this. We have 50 odd entries and different skill levels. And the challenge is you're a pro here, but there are probably some sim drivers who are quicker than you, as they are with me as well. I suck at sim racing, but nonetheless, we're here, we're racing. How has it been sort of working with 2 amateur drivers?
I wouldn't even really call my guys amateurs all that much. I think I'm in the as you stated, faster than me sim drivers, which I'm very blessed to be dealing with that this year. Obviously, in years past, it's been a lot more of the pro-am situation. This year, to get partnered up with Esports Racing Canada, they bring a lot of talent to the equation. So if anything, it's making sure we're all on the same page and then going from there, rather than ensuring that everybody's up to speed and feels comfortable with what we're doing. I trust the guys quite a lot. So far it's been great, and I'm the only one who's wrecked the car. So,
and that's what real racing drivers do, I hear. No, we're all competitive. We're racing, but what we're here to do is raise some funds for Stick Kids Foundation. How does it feel to be part of an event like this?
Yeah, this is my 3rd year being a part of the sim racing for the kids. It's always such an honor to be selected as one of the pro drivers, obviously, but everything goes to a great cause. So it's a really special event to myself, a lot of drivers in the Canadian motorsport family. So it's really cool to be privileged enough to get to participate and in studio every year with John and Jim and yourself and all the great people that make this happen.
We really appreciate it. Good luck this evening, Gavin. Hopefully the rest of the race goes well for you guys. Back to you guys in the booth.
Thank you, Brian. A quick look at Chris Calabrese. That's a lot of damage on a GT3 car, Zach. That's about the most I've seen all night long.
Yeah, we haven't really seen a lot of a lot. Was that the 27 that was rolling by?
It
That
is.
is. We were talking about them earlier. Aiden Vicari mired a little bit back in the pack. Is going to be a little further now because of that damage, but we hadn't really seen that much carnage since the very beginning of this race. So, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, anything can happen in a second. Anything can happen before that checkered flag flies. So, you always got to be on your toes no matter where you are on the track, whether you're all by yourself or around other cars.
Watching our race leader from AV Esports, Ozzy Milway. Let's see, in the second spot, we're going to find Roberts Racing still. This field's starting to get spread out. Harder to find these drivers all mixed around.
One thing that I'm seeing, though, Andrew, is we have a lot of people towards the front now that we didn't really see earlier. Drivers Paddock, the 711, you talked about them a little earlier. Patrick Woods Toth, now up into P3, the 998, Balker Racing of Michael Dowden. We might have been talking about them here and there, but we haven't really been talking about them inside the top 5, potentially racing for a podium finish. So it's good to see some of these guys, some of the strategies really start to come in. Some guys that we were talking about earlier really harping on at the beginning of the race, falling off a little bit. We're seeing a new crop start to rise to the top here as we're starting to get down to the bottom half of this race.
And we've got some shots from the studio here at Motorsports. Let's take a look here. I believe we're looking at Sam Fellows. Now, in my multi-view, it's a little hard for me to tell exactly with the face, but I believe we're looking at Sam Fellows per our on-site producer, Robert Hill Jr. Pretty cool to check in again and see what's going on at Hit Motorsports and take a look at these guys on the sim themselves. As we do take a look here at the Balker Racing 998 Ferrari of Michael Dowden. And Sam's been an iRacer for years. I recall a couple of other events I've covered in the past. I recall one at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, which of course goes hand in hand with the Fellows name. And I recall Sam being in that race. I recall Sam being in these races in the years past. So good to see Sam Fellows getting involved here with sim racing for the kids as we have gone past that hour to go mark and start to work closer and closer to crowning a victor in this race.
And it's for such a great cause, like we've been talking about all night long, the race for the kids, for the Sick Kids Foundation. I mean, if you have anything to spare, please consider doing so. I mean, I think it's just for a great cause, the fact that we have pro drivers, AM drivers, people that have dedicated their lives to iRacing, to racing in general, coming all together for the Sick Kids Foundation. So it's really, really cool to see just what they could put together when you have a dedicated group of people that want to show, do this for a good cause. So it's really cool to see all of it just come together, and for this to be the 4th running, not just the first. This is the 4th time this has happened, 4th year in a row. So it's really, really cool to see all this come together. Really cool shots to see all the people at Hit Motorsports over there. Not only just the drivers, but the people just the fellow drivers sitting around, chit-chatting, talking, helping. It's just really cool to see.
We'll check back here. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, looking at the numbers here, we have just ticked over 50. We're coming up on 50,500. We're getting real close to there with the goal of 87. Definitely believe in everybody that we can get there, but definitely it's been great to see that ticker slowly creeping up towards 100%.
Yeah, very nice to see that number growing, and we'll talk once more about it here in just a moment, but watching some more shots from the Hit Motorsports campus as we take a look at the Sim City Racing number 970 with Zach Mosley behind the wheel. We've also got Days Superlap Green right behind, Kevin Rold in that car.
See them battling coming down the front stretch. The Mercedes, one of the first times we've seen a Mercedes out here doing work past the 27 car, the one that had damage earlier. Maybe just kind of taking it slow, find his new groove, but really cool, again, to see so many different vehicles, so many different manufacturers in this race. Cool to see a Mercedes out here.
I think we're seeing some pit stops here coming up here very, very soon. We'll see exactly when these guys come in, but it's about that time for them to make another stop, come in and get good to go until the final stop. So we're down to 2 stops to go for these guys, no matter what strategy they're on, I believe. It should be a 2-stop race from here. Well, once they pit, a 1-stop race from here. But as you enjoy these shots, we'll let these shots take you to the end of the 8 o'clock hour here on the Eastern Seaboard. We'll roll with this until we hit our break here at 9 o'clock Eastern on Rev TV. And we'll be back to you shortly here at Pit Stop TV and Rev TV. It's been a pleasure covering this event so far. One more time, a big nod to the partners who make this event possible: Canadian Motorsports Academy, Hyundai Canada, Auto Eclectic Motorsports, Vehicle Dynamics Group, the Garage Guy Barbecue, Hip Motorsports, Georgetown Hyundai, Muddy Moose, Breyer Brothers Brewing Company, Rev TV, and of course, Sick Kids Foundation, all a big and integral part of this event. And we're just going to leave you with some sights and sounds here for a moment until we hit that break, and be right back here at Pit Stop TV and Rev TV.
Stuck planning another group event? Tired of the same old ideas? Hip Motorsports has exactly what you need. Drive Hip's top-notch racing simulators. Race incredible virtual cars and tracks in the Hip Esports Arena. Chirp your opponents and battle for the podium. Then relax in the Hip Lounge with some tasty food and drinks. It's a unique motorsports-inspired experience that your group will love and remember. Scan the code to plan your event. Hip Motorsports provides complete turnkey racing simulators for your home or business. We'll help you select a package that fits your needs and budget. Then build and deliver a fully supported turnkey solution. You just race. Hip Motorsports has the top sim racing brands and the expertise to get you into your dream racing simulator. Hip Motorsports is your sim racing source.
Welcome back to the virtual Road America and the virtual Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Taking a look at the number 60 Go Fast racing machine with Brad Blackrock behind the wheel of that number 60 McLaren. We'll take a look as well at the number 5 car, another McLaren on the racetrack. In the about 22nd position or so, trying to chase down Webster Racing by Smurfit Westrock, it looks like, in a Porsche right ahead. So a couple of battles deep in this field right now, sorting themselves out as we get closer and closer to the end of this race. One by one, these laps keep ticking off. And while we have a moment before we get back to full broadcast coverage, as we just took that quick break, we want to take a look at what's upcoming for us here at Pit Stop TV. Just a quick look at what's coming up for us. We'll keep this quick, I promise. But next up, we have the Sim Auto Racing Association Pierce Fleet Service Super Series tomorrow night. So more sim racing action here on the channel, but oval racing for us. Then we have some more short track racing on Saturday with the second annual Carol Kenneth Carter Memorial Race. That's Saturday, January 11th, and Sunday, for all you road racing fans, we're keeping it road racing this weekend. The Major Series Daytona 2.4 this is where we're going to see a lot of these same drivers in another sim race. So if you like what you see, you can come back for more, another sim race of the same sort, although it'll be with prototypes and GT3 cars on the racetrack at Daytona for 2.4 hours, the Major Series Americas Split at 6:45 Eastern Sunday, January 12th. All of that happening at Daytona International Speedway. So some more sports car action coming at you quickly, and you can follow us along on all of our social media platforms down below on the bottom of your screen. And you guys were talking in our quick little break, Zach and David, about the numbers that we're hitting for this fundraiser. Of course, we're here for Sick Kids Foundation, based out of Toronto, Canada. And we want you to please consider donating with that QR code on your screen now. We would really appreciate it. Sick Kids would really appreciate it. So much work has gone into this event, and so many dollars have gone to that foundation this year, crushing previous records, up over $50,000 Canadian, and that number just keeps on soaring higher. Hello, that was a big moment out of the 013, the Webster Racing by Smurfit Group, and that's going to bring in the 45 car B Squared Inch Race. And this is a really solid fight deep in the field right now as we talk about the Sick Kids Foundation, the cause of why we're here this evening. Guys, what is that number at now?
That number, I'm looking at 50,645 Canadian. Absolutely fantastic. And I know that, like you've said, this race is, obviously everybody here wants to race, and all of the racers are doing this, for bragging rights. But at the end of the day, we're here for the kids, and I know that all of the kids that are watching this, these guys here, Andrew in the 013 coming out of the kink. If you go back and watch this, buddy, that was one unbelievable catch. And I know you're putting on one heck of a show for these kids, and it's just great to see everything. So definitely from all of us here at Pit Stop TV and Sim Racing for the Kids, we're all incredibly thankful for everybody's generosity here tonight. And
We'll take a look at the race leader here and bring you back to the HIP Motorsports Center as well. On the bottom right of your screen, the right side really, we're about to see a driver change with Sam Fellows getting out of the car, and I think they're mid-pit stop maybe. Here we go. Here goes Sam Fellows out of the car, and we'll find out who is climbing aboard to take over. That was perfect timing. You see the driver change happening. This is what you don't usually get in one of these events, but what you do get here with the Sim Racing for Kids event with HIP Motorsports, the things we're able to do with HIP Motorsports are just insane. A real-time driver change there on your screen. That was perfect timing. Zach, that's that adds an extra layer to the onion of Sim Racing.
It really does. I mean, you really get to see, like, not a lot of the time do you get to see live action sim racing driver swap. Really, in endurance race that people go through, you see, someone from the East Coast get out of the car, and then someone from the West Coast presses a couple buttons and they're in the car. 3-hour difference. But not often do you get to see sim drivers in the same place do a driver swap for the same race. So HIP Motorsports doing a fantastic job showcasing just everything that they've got. Look, they're even giving each other pointers, what the driver felt at the time, maybe giving the current driver a little bit of feedback as to what the car may need. Just a bunch of like real-time information going about these guys, and it's really cool to see it from a sim racing perspective. Usually you get this in maybe real world racing, a driver gets out, talks to his crew. Well, when you get drivers getting out and talking to their other drivers, you have a lot of information flowing around.
That was really cool to see. That's you talk about a driver from the East Coast and the West Coast swapping spots in the car. I mean, we've done races with you involved where we have a driver across the world, somewhere either in Europe, or we've had drivers from Australia join us before. We've had drivers from all over the place, and of course we're U.S. based, so we have that U.S. kind of bias, right? We just kind of expect, or even Canada bias, because we are U.S. and Canadian based here with Pit Stop TV, Rev TV, Sim Racing for the Kids, all that. But we have a lot of international drivers on the iRacing.com sim that get involved in these events, and we sometimes partner them up. For a 24-hour race, it's real convenient to have somebody from the East Coast race along with somebody from Australia, race along with somebody from Europe, because everybody is waking up and going to bed at different times. So you can maintain a semblance of a sleep schedule and get those laps in. And that just helps the world go around at some of those 24-hour events like what these guys are getting ready to do for the iRacing.com Daytona 24 coming up in a couple of weeks. So, yes, it's interesting to see the difference, right? You've got, as mentioned, the difference of 18 hours across the world, or 12 hours, or 3 hours, or literally a couple of seconds, because you've got guys in-house HIP Motorsports, HIP Motorsports, swapping in and out of the car. Just really cool stuff to see. Something you don't get to see every day here on the iRacing.com sim. And of course, want to quell any fears. They are taking a minimum 30-second pit stop to basically weigh it back out so that the pit stops are even. So they don't get an advantage because they're not doing an actual driver change. So it's very important to note that there is no advantage to it. It's just more fun because it's in person.
We're talking about just seeing it in person is really cool, Andrew. Like you were saying, it's one thing to be across the world, across the country, where somebody has to wake up in the middle of the night or they got to go to bed in the morning to get a couple hours of shut-eye before their stint happens. But to have it and to be so personable like that, where everybody is legitimately right there, all you got to do is bring a car to a safe stop in pit road, get up, make sure your next driver is comfortable in the seat, and let him go, as we see some more pit stops happening here. A little bit of strategy call from the 555. I thought we saw him come in about 15 minutes ago. So David, is this kind of something that we're going to be expecting to see drivers behind the leader try to put themselves into a position, or is this kind of an off-ball strategy?
Looking at this now, that was only his 9th lap on that stint of tires, and we're with 45 minutes to go. I think they're starting to look about just splitting these 44 minutes left right down the middle and being sure that they can make it to the end. So I wouldn't be too surprised if these guys are starting the chain of dominoes, and car 555 is just going to be the first one to do it.
See a driver change. Tyrone Roberts get behind the wheel. We had David Sampson in early. Roberts now gets in the car, and they'll rejoin the field here to about the 6th position, it looks like, somewhere around there. They'll keep top 10 status in any place. Anyway, Clubline Motorsports works down the middle straight, as you put it earlier, David. Clubline in the 3rd position, it looks like. At least that's what timing and scoring is telling me. Maratus M Squad, Ginger Liveries rides in 2nd. AV Esports continues to lead, with Ozzy Milwain doing the heavy portion of the work, the heavy lifting for that number 94. He has been in the car for a while now, and almost as if on cue, he's going to come into the pit lane. And I think we're going to see these guys get out of the car now. I think this is driver change kind of stuff we're seeing, Zach. To answer your question, I think this is trying to play the drive time limit to their best ability and to their best advantage. We'll put cars in, we'll bring cars in, put drivers back out there for the final 45 minutes or so, and I think that's what they're trying to do.
And this might bring the field right back to each other. We saw Ozzy get out to a very, very big lead, but now with the new driver coming, possible new driver coming, and we don't know just yet, but a possible new driver coming in for him, for AV Esports, this could very well start bringing everything together. As you see the car disappear, driver change. Spencer Todd will now get behind the wheel of the current leader, Spencer Todd, AVE Motorsports.
And not to be the bearer of bad news here, but car 94 has received a black flag. And I wonder if he was speeding on his entry to pit lane, or if they got popped for incident points. But I'm showing on my screen that your leader coming in, car number 94, AVE Sports, seems to have a black flag.
Unfortunate stuff for AVE Sports. They were dominating this race. Oh man, you just hate to see that.
I mean, you really do, but that's just the name of the game and what you pay for. again, we were talking about it. Nothing's ever set in stone. They had the most dominant car there for the middle part of the race. They drove away from everybody, and now here they are, going to have to drive their way back up through the field, have a chance at it. But here we go again. Hip Motorsports again with the beautiful visual of what the drivers are seeing compared to what we're seeing on the outside looking in. You get to see them from the inside looking out. So it's really, really cool to see what these drivers are going through around each and every single corner.
I believe that's Keaton Pipe behind the wheel currently on screen. Let's see if I can find the car that Keaton is in right now.
Car number 5, Andrew.
And we will jump to that 5 car. There we go.
And one thing that I really like with him, there was a couple times there where he kind of like pushed himself forward, took a little bit of a deep breath. He kind of gained on a car early, a little wide through that corner. But you see him kind of readjust his head. I kind of do the same thing when I have a little bit of a mess up or a little bit of a issue. It's just kind of a reset, kind of like a reset tick. You know, get yourself back into a groove and get going. So, I mean, just see that visually is really, really cool. So, just what these sim drivers are going through, their reset ticks, what they do, what they're looking for, how they hold themselves behind the wheel is really, really cool to see firsthand.
And you can see this is almost live, almost synced up. You can watch the hands versus, you know, the shot that we've got from Hip Motorsports versus the onboard that we have. This is almost perfectly in sync. This is really cool to see the difference of what's going on. We're riding on board with Keaton Pipe, staying on board with this group. Oh, this is going to be a moment.
Just great heads-up driving by Keaton right there to read that situation with the lap car. You know, kind of checking up the 555 in front of him. It was really great read by Keaton too, as Zach points out, his reset movement right there. Definitely really impressed to see that, but also impressed to see that Keaton's aware of, you know, okay, take a deep breath, reset. Good to go. You know, definitely impressive to watch that.
And with that situation that happened right in front of him, you didn't really see any panic. You didn't see his hands really shake. You didn't really see him like start bobbing and weaving in the seat. He was prepared for what was about to happen. Like you said, David, he saw the situation and he made the appropriate moves to make sure that he wasn't a part of that situation, that he took advantage of it. So really, really calm and collected Keaton is right now.
Jumping to 6th place, Josh Green from Moradness M Squad, and that is going to be Stephen Verweyen for Polar Bear Racing. Battling here for 6th position, a Ferrari versus a McLaren currently. Just ahead of Grassroots Racing that we saw earlier in this race inside the top 5. They've dropped down just a little bit. It's right on board with this McLaren.
Seeing all that dirt and smoke pop up, it's really, really cool to watch this.
The Grassroots car, the 83 with Giancarlo, has been slowly pulling Rain and Josh and Steven back in. So I would suspect that if the 7 and the 73 start to fight each other, then that 83 with Grassroots and Giancarlo is going to be able to get the point.
Get closer and closer to having just a half hour left to go in this race. We're 7.5 minutes away from that point. Quickly working towards the end of this race. It has gone by in a flash, guys. It really feels like we just got this thing started and already here we are, about a half hour to go.
This is when... Oh, I'm sorry, David. Go ahead.
To make a tough shot even worse, the 94 is back in pit lane. AV Esports, it's a little bit of a tough break right there for those guys.
There you go, Spencer Todd back in the pit lane. And this is not on schedule. You could argue it would be on schedule if it was about 6.5 minutes later, right at that half-hour mark. You could say maybe then it'd be on schedule, but this is a little bit early. So a problem there for Spencer Todd. We'll jump up back to the race leaders. And catch, I guess it's going to be Roberts Racing leading the way. With Tyrone Roberts now, I guess the namesake of Roberts Racing behind the wheel. And we're going to get a quick word with Brian Max and Jim Anderson. So we'll throw it down to Brian.
Jim Anderson, 4th annual sim racing for the kids. It's been a bit of a journey, and I think this is a record car count, and we've hit a few milestones.
Yeah, absolutely. So not only our highest number of pros and amateurs in the event, but also biggest donation amount ever. We're over the $50,000 mark now, and we're so excited about that. When I saw that number click in earlier tonight, it was like, yeah,
It makes all that hard work feel worth it, doesn't it?
yeah, absolutely. And I can't thank everyone who's been involved in this event over the 4 years, and especially this year. You know, it's gotten bigger and more complicated, and a lot more work, and you know, there's a lot of volunteers involved here, and you know, present company included, pardon me. And it's just, you know, really amazing to see the community come together and support such a terrific cause.
And you know, my team is supporting this. We have 2 cars in this race as well. I'm not sure how they're doing because I haven't been able to pay attention. But you know, come on, guys. Yeah. There's a lot of people here that we have to thank.
Absolutely. You know, Canadian Motorsports Academy coming on as our title sponsor was very exciting. We're thrilled with their support and thank them so much. Also, Hyundai Canada, terrific partner, and so happy to have Mark Wilkins, who's one of their ambassadors, as part of the race. He's been with us every year, all 4 years. And Auto Eclectic Motorsports, their prize is a beauty. You know, being able to have a track day for the top fundraising team in a radical on a racetrack, that's awesome.
That is real motivation. As I said to Mark from Auto Eclectic, there's no way I let sim racers drive one of my race cars, but he's all in.
Take some guts, that's for sure, to make that call. Yeah, no, thank you very much, Mark.
It's really impressive. Now, you talked about $50,000. That's just the fundraising for this event. In the 4 years total, what does that look like?
Yeah, you're making me do math on the fly. I think we're pretty close to $140,000 over 4 years. And when we started this thing, myself and Gary Wood came up with this idea. We thought, well, maybe we'll raise a couple $1,000. Wouldn't that be nice? You know, look at what's happening. It's amazing.
It's pretty cool. I'm pleased to be part of it, and you know, thanks for having me. It's a great team to work with from my perspective. So thank you.
Thank you too.
Back to you guys in the booth.
Thank you, guys. That's Brian and Jim down trackside, if you will. Hip Motorsports side, even, as we get closer and closer to that 30-minute to go mark. Roberts Racing leading the way over Balka Racing. Andrew Waring behind the wheel of that 998 Ferrari. It's interesting how those races evolve. 2 cars that we did not expect to be talking about at this point in time, guys, leading the way right now. But I think, you know, earlier we said it'd be the second to last stop. It's really going to be the last stop or so that we find out who's going to be where in that run to the end.
Yeah, and I mean, usually the last stop is kind of like the, all right, get what, you know, you rung what you brung type of thing, go out, go loud. But yeah, you know, it is going to come down to the final stop. We've seen a lot of comers, a lot of goers, but the 555 Roberts Racing, we've been kind of documenting their rise. They've been slowly inclining up to the top to where they are now. They haven't really bopped around at all really during the race. They've kind of put themselves at the top and now holding strong 10-second lead over the 998 Balka Racing of Andrew Waring. So, I mean, again, still a lot of racing to go. 30 minutes is a lot of laps, so anything can happen. But it's really cool to see how this race has gone from one man dominating to we don't know who's the next leader going to be to we don't know who the leader's going to be at the end of this thing.
And going back and looking at the lap times of the guys here in the top fives the last couple laps, the fastest car on track consistently has been Last 10th Racing in 4th place, car number 10, with Nikki Chan behind the wheel. And Nikki and Josh Green in the Maradnas car behind him have been consistently 3 or 4 tenths of a lap quicker than the guys, than the Roberts Racing cars and the Volca car. But is there enough time? When is the strategy going to be played? Has everybody made their short stop yet, or do does the 555 and the 998 still need to make that short stop? And some of these guys, 4th, 5th, 6th, have they made that short stop already? I think we're probably going to start to know more here over the next 3 or 4 laps, because my view on it is, if I'm driving, I want to be able to make that final pit stop, and I want to come in the lap that I know I'm good, which I think is going to probably be coming up within the next 2 laps.
Yeah, and this is the point now where once we eclipse this 30-minute to go mark, the pits open up. 50%. Usually in an endurance race, with a full tank of fuel, we expect a GT3 or GTD car to go an hour, right? About an hour, sometimes a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, depending on the racetrack and the circumstances. If you're pushing really hard or relaxed and whatnot, usually right about an hour, give or take. You cut that in half, we're going to say give or take a half hour, and that margin is a little bit smaller as one car is around. That is one of the Acura NSXs, that is Kyle Rennie. And going around to the 61 car, he will get that car righted again for TK Racing, but we'll jump back up to Roberts Racing, the race leader, as he works through traffic. That's Tyrone Roberts. Anyways, back to my point, right? That's about a half hour. The margin's a little bit smaller. Once we pass that half hour mark, it's all going to break loose. Pit lane is completely wide open. You can do whatever you want at this point. Just come in for a tank of fuel, get back on the racetrack, and that's all you've got to do from here on out.
And if you've already reached your driver quota, if you reached your driver time, it could be at that point a rung what you brung kind of situation. You see Roberts have to take evasive action coming out of the final corner, coming up the hill. But I mean, it could be a rung what you brung time. Now everybody either put their best man in, put their best card in, and hope for the best, hope that everything kind of falls your way. So I don't think we're done seeing, obviously, the strategy of the car, but I don't think we're done seeing the strategy of the drivers either. So I think it's going to be really, really fascinating to see what happens here coming towards the end of the race. And I think that's going to still open this race wide open with 29 minutes left. There's still so much to be had here.
Well, it looks like we've got a quick moment with Brian back at Hit Motorsports and Sam Fellows. So we'll toss over to you, Brian.
Sam Fellows, thanks for being here tonight, part of this. Legendary family name, that's got to be, a burden to live with sometimes, but your dad was one of my first friends in motorsport, so I always appreciate that. You're racing with Express Esports.
Yes.
And you've got some pretty talented teammates. How's your race been going?
Pretty good until I got in the car, I think. No, it's this is so much harder. I find this harder than the real life. Just not having that seat feel, that input. So I was in a nice little train with a couple of people I see on a regular basis in real life, actually, and I just tried to give a little NASCAR love tap, but apparently that doesn't work in iRacing. So I got black flagged for that. So, but no, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, you have to remember it's for the kids. Try not to be too competitive.
That's exactly it. We want to be competitive. We're all racers.
Yeah.
But there's a charitable aspect. So sure. How do you balance the charitable aspect with wanting to be quick?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have an answer for that, but I think, I mean, Sick Kids is like Hinch said in the opening. I think a lot of people have been touched by Sick Kids we have in our family. So just the ability to come here and be present and give back and raise some money is special and important.
Well, we really appreciate being here. Last question for you. Do you think your teammates have helped you more tonight, or has your real-world experience helped them?
I think there's been a little bit of. Hopefully, I've helped a little bit more so on the strategy and the racecraft side. I think, but they've been super helpful with me in figuring out what the game likes and how you drive. So because my dad taught me a little differently than the way you drive in iRacing. But it's super fun, and yeah, I hope I've been helpful at least a little bit. So.
We're glad you could be here. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for volunteering to be here as a pro. We all appreciate it. Back to you guys in the booth.
Thank you, Brian. Good to check in with Sam Fellows. We saw him earlier on in the Hip Motorsports camera, and good to hear from him and kind of get a pro driver's perspective on things late in this race, as we have gone past the 27-minute mark left in this race, coming up on 26th and 25, so on and so forth. And we are getting closer and closer to that final break here as well before we bring you to the end here on Pit Stop TV and Rev TV. What a show this has been. We're on board with Roberts Racing and Tyrone Roberts. A very interesting spot to be in this late in the race, guys. Leading the way, Zach, I mean, how nerve-wracking is this?
This is extremely nerve-wracking because now you need everything to go your way. Like we said earlier in the race, you want your problems to happen at 2 hours and 30 minutes to go. You don't want it to happen now, especially at the front. You've got to worry about pace. You've got to worry about lap cars. You've got to worry about your pace. You've got to worry about everybody else's pace. It's really, really difficult to keep your mind on just the racetrack or just your car alone. You've got all those thoughts going through your head. It's really both easy and hard at the same time to let those thoughts get in your head and block them out. So, you've got so much happening around you. As you see right here, Andrew wearing in a whole cluster. You see puff of smoke from all the rocks from Canada Corner there kind of puff up. So you've got so many thoughts. You've got so many things running through your head. And I like what Sam Fellows was talking about there, about how the pros are learning more from the drivers. It seems like that's a natural trend more than anything this race, that the pros are learning more from the sim drivers and the sim drivers are learning from the pros. Obviously, you're going to learn a racecraft and what to think strategy-wise is from a pro, but, a pro learning from the drivers, that's really, really cool to hear. So, there's something in it for everybody, and the everybody is for the kids. So it's really, really cool to listen to that from the pro drivers.
We'll take one more quick break here at Pit Stop TV and Rev TV, then be back to you for the end of Sim Racing for the Kids 4.
Stuck planning another group event? Tired of the same old ideas? HIP Motorsports has exactly what you need. Drive HIP's top-notch racing simulators. Race incredible virtual cars and tracks in the HIP esports arena. Chirp your opponents and battle for the podium. Then relax in the HIP lounge with some tasty food and drinks. It's a unique motorsports-inspired experience that your group will love and remember. Scan the code to plan. HIP Motorsports provides complete turnkey racing simulators for your home or business. We'll help you select a package that fits your needs and budget. Then build and deliver a fully supported turnkey solution. You just race. HIP Motorsports has the top sim racing brands and the expertise to get you into your dream racing simulator. HIP Motorsports is your sim racing source.
We pick up where we left off with the Balco Racing Group and Andrew Waring behind the wheel. Not much changing up front. Pit stops looming. And just about everybody's got to make one more stop still before they can run to the end here. I want to give a big thank you to those who make this event possible. Canadian Motorsports Academy, Hyundai Canada, Auto Eclectic Motorsports, Vehicle Dynamics Group, the Garage Guy Barbecue, HIP Motorsports, Garage Town Hyundai, Muddy Moose, Breyer Brothers Brewing Company, Rev TV, and of course, Sick Kids Foundation. Now, I was handed a note by Gary Wood, one of the organizers of this event, earlier today, that we want to talk about Breyer Brothers Brewing Company, and we're going to talk about them just a little bit. Just a quick hop, there we go, a quick hop over the Peace Bridge. You'll find Breyer Brothers Brewing in Buffalo, your home for Formula One in Western New York. Each race week, Breyer Brothers hosts entertaining and engaging watch parties for every Grand Prix race, complete with great craft beer, a lively atmosphere, and fellow F1 fans who live for the thrill of the track. Whether you're cheering for Red Bull, Ferrari, or the underdog, we've got the big screens, ice-cold pints, and all the excitement you need. So gear up and race over to Breyer Brothers Brewing, where great vibes, delicious beers, and world-class racing fans meet. And I gotta tell you, they have me sold at least. If I were in the Buffalo area every Sunday, I know where I'd be going. Over to Breyer Brothers Brewing Company to watch the Formula One race. That is a really cool situation they have going there. I know you guys are both racing fans. Zach, I don't know how much you follow Formula One. David, I know you follow it religiously. That sounds like if we were in the Buffalo area instead of the Charlotte area, we would be all over it.
Absolutely, like you said, I've been following Formula One pretty religiously as long as I can remember. I think the first really season I got into Formula One was 2007. So if you know anything about F1 history, and you know me as a driver and as a fan, you guys know me personally. I've always been a big Raikkonen fan, and it's been since day one, since pretty much because of that. So yeah, I would absolutely. Next time I'm up in the Buffalo area, I'm definitely going to check that out as we see some pit stops here with these guys coming in for their final stops.
Yeah, it should be the final stop for Balka Racing and everybody else. Roberts Racing, I believe, has yet to pit. They should be coming in this time, I think, based on what Balka Racing has done. They went 12 laps. And this is lap 11 for Tyrone Roberts. Maratus M Squad, Ginger Liveries, Josh Green still has a ways to go as they work through the beach of Turn 2. You know, last night we covered an event for the BRB Racing League, the Butt Kicker Cup Series, and we had a lot of fun at the Red Bull Ring with NASCAR stock cars. And there is a corner, well, kind of a gravel trap at Mid-Ohio that is named China Beach. Well, we had a beach form in Turn 5 at the Red Bull Ring last night from all the gravel being brought back onto the racetrack. We called it Cinco Beach because it was in Turn 5. We might have to come up with a beach name for what's happening over in Turn 2 right now, guys, because it is sandy as all get out over there. If we can find a reliable camera here, maybe. This isn't the greatest. You can kind of see it here. And as cars come back through, we're going to stay here for just a second and watch all the sand and everything pop up in the air when cars come through this point of the racetrack. It is, I mean, you can see it in the grass. Look at all the dots of gray, brown sand all over the sides of the racetrack, guys. This is crazy.
I think I've got your name for you. We're in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, so it's Elkhart Beach.
I like it.
I like it.
I'd have to wait a while on a car to come on through, so we'll just ride on board then with Maratus M Squad. They'll be back around eventually. And then we'll take a look at that because it is just formed up big time. And there's other spots on the racetrack, sure, but it just seems like there's always that one spot on the track somewhere that gets all of the sand and gets sandier than the rest. And I think it's Turn 2 today with all these guys running wide at Turn 1.
And coming up on that mess as a driver, a lot of times you can't necessarily see it if it's just a little bit of gravel, but when there's as much as there is as we can see right now, sometimes it can play with a driver's head if they're not used to it or they don't know what to expect, and they can drive off in there and they see it and go, oh no, there's a bunch of gravel. This is, as we almost see a huge send right there. Oh no, we're coming into a bunch of gravel. How much grip are we going to have? And that's going to be something that differentiates the pro guys and the guys with a lot of experience, either in real life or here in iRacing, to where how much grip is there going to be when we get there. And that's definitely where you can see some drivers pull a gap on some of the lesser experienced guys.
Well, here goes the Radness car up the inside of another. That's going to be the 43rd place machine, Obtuse Racing 337, with Sean Bowman behind the wheel. Obtuse Racing green. Just behind, you've got Mark Miller from the number 67 camp. And then you find George, Adrian, and Gavin kind of all on their own right now in 17th spot. Riding around with 17 minutes to go. And it looks like that pit stop has been taken by Roberts Racing. It looks like they've come into the pit lane maybe and given up the race lead from what I can tell. My timing and scoring is kind of all over the place, guys, but if you could help us along there, it looks like they've pitted it and now line up at about 6th.
Yeah, on my end, I mean, I don't have anything as far as like updated for my end. They have to cross the line for everything to update. That's how iRacing works for me. So right now, if they're showing them in 6, if they're showing the 555 and 6, that makes sense because they did drop from the lead as of the last lap.
A little further up, you'll find Chris Pachinski in the 711 BMW driver's paddock on the side of that car. Chasing down the MPR Endurance team. Oh, hang on. I gotta find this again. Parker in the number 66 sent me his pronunciation. Parker Picozzi. Picozzi, yes.
I like
Picozzi in the 4th position.
Make that P3. Might have just passed somebody coming down pit road, quite possibly, but I mean, like we said, we were talking about new drivers coming up through the field. We haven't really been talking about the 66 yet. Here they are, 15 minutes left, P3. I don't know if they've hit their strategy marks. They hit their strategy quota, but I mean, as of right now, they're P3 on podium with 15 minutes left.
And they've got a lot of traffic up ahead with 15 minutes to go. This is a scary, scary spot to be in. You never want to have traffic in the last few minutes. Everybody's going for those positions. And, you know, with an hour and 15 or 2 hours and 15, everybody's going to be easy to pass compared to 15 minutes to go. Guys are more willing to move over and let you go by at that point in the race than they are at this point in the race. Everybody's trying to hang on to what they can and get the last position that they possibly can. So this is just a difficult spot to be in if you're Picozzi, because this is just, it's so difficult. It really is.
It very much is difficult, but it's even more difficult when it's for a position inside the top 5. I mean, in this group of drivers, we've got lap cars, but we've also got 3 cars within almost a second, 2 seconds of each other that will be battling for a top 5 position, whether it be 3rd, 4th, or 5th. So, I mean, especially when you've got more people around you than what you're battling as far as position-wise, that's when it becomes almost unbearable. You try to start taking chances that you hadn't taken before, like Andrew said. You start doing things that you wouldn't do 2 hours, an hour and a half left in the race. You start blocking, you start using lines that you hadn't run. You start pushing the cars to where it hadn't been ran all day. So it's going to be... It's going to be trying to find that right line as Picozzi now coming down pit road. This is going to be his last stop, but he will give up that P3 position.
And going off of, you know, what you said there, Zach, and calling back to what Sam Fellows said in his interview and a couple of the other guys, there's a bit of racecraft involved that I think we've seen out of some of the guys, to where, like you said, there's 15 minutes to go, and if you've been following somebody for the last half hour, you've started to learn what they're doing, and some of the more savvy pros out here are going to be able to know, like you said, Zach, to change their lines up a little bit and just try to change their rhythm to try to throw the guy behind them off. Or if you're the chasing car, you're going to be starting to show the nose in the mirror a little bit more in some weirder spots, some more random spots, to try to get in the, you know, play the mind games with the cars ahead. And this is at the point too where, you know, drivers' minds, if you've got a big gap like Muradness does with Josh Green here, every little weird bump feels different, and every little noise is different, and you've got to learn to kind of just tune that out, and, you know, just you know, relax your shoulders, take a deep breath, kind of refocus and recenter yourself, like we were talking about earlier. It's going to be important, because it's really, really easy to start thinking, oh, there's 12 minutes to go. We've got a 14-second lead. This is in the bag. Uh-oh, I've spun, and now we're back in 5th. So there's always, you know, there's something to think about as we see some carnage
like
in the last
this
quarter.
right here. You saw that Porsche come back out on the track. I don't know if he came back out in front of the leader. He did. This is exactly what David was saying. All of a sudden, chaos ensues out of the last corner. You have no clue what's going to happen until the absolute end.
That was scary stuff. That was
Especially
really
for the
scary
leader.
stuff.
I think leader came in, Josh Green. Yeah, he's down pit road right now. I don't know if he came down pit road to take evasive action or if that was scheduled, but he obviously slow enough now to where people behind him are going to catch him and pass him.
I think, luckily, it looks like for Josh here, this is a scheduled stop. So they've decided to do their splash and dash right at the end, and got really, really lucky that they weren't caught up in that.
Really did.
That was really close. And they will roll out of the pit lane now and rejoin the field here. One more thank you to those who make this all possible. Canadian Motorsports Academy, Hyundai Canada, Auto Eclectic Motorsports, Vehicle Dynamics Group, The Garage Guy Barbecue, Hip Motorsports, Georgetown Hyundai, Muddy Moose, Breyer Brothers Brewing Company, Rev TV, and Sick Kids Foundation. Back on board with Josh Green in the number 7. Clubline Motorsports is down at a turn number 3 here. I believe they might have just pitted. I think we're about set as far as who's where and running to the end now.
And the 7 of Josh Green has popped out in, I believe it's going to be 4th behind the 998 of Andrew Waring. So it looks like the strategy that we've been calling for the other guys getting their short fill done early, I think that probably was your race winning strategy right there.
And there you see Andrew Waring in the 998. Just up the road. It's close. So if Waring is having to save it all, this could be a battle. Or if he gets held up literally at any point.
The last stop for Andrew was 4 laps ago, so they should be good to go on the end. Could go to the end. And I'll quickly check the other cars in front, but I think the other guys should be good to go. The 23 came in 2 laps ago. He's good. And the 7 we've just looked at. So, yeah, I think everybody's
here's
finally...
that hold up. That was really close, right behind that Thor McLaren. That's going to bring in that Moradnis car. We're going to have ourselves a fight for what looks like second position. As here we go, up the hill and across the stripe. Another lap completed. Here comes that Moradnis car.
And that's such a bad spot to get held up on coming up the hill like that, because obviously you got to have enough power to get up the hill, but now you got somebody who's going to be faster already than you coming up the hill, and then down that long straight. Some moves being made, some lines being blocked. You see the defensive line here from the 998 coming into turn 3. He's going to be able to hold off Moradnis for now, but it's just a matter of how long are you going to be able to hold off 9 minutes around this, 14 corner track? That's a long time.
And Andrew Waring with the 998 Balka racing car is definitely flirting with the edge of how far can he go with his defense. He's as he slides the nose a little bit there through 6, and that's going to let Josh get next to him through 7. That's really good recovery, really good recovery by Andrew right there to keep Josh behind him.
And Josh gives him some room to work with and lets him go back ahead through turn 7. So smart, respectful racing between these two right now as we work down to the end of this charity event.
We're getting close to $51,000 raised here with 8 minutes to go. So I know we're getting we're starting to get closer and closer and closer to that goal, and we're coming up on 51,000 here.
And we've got cars lined up racing for the cause. I mean, you've got Balka racing right here with Moradnis M Squad Ginger Liveries right on their coattails. Then the Oceanic Coffee car, Scott Angelo just behind them. And then Giancarlo Scheilman behind the wheel for Grassroots Racing is 5th. Also not too far back, Last 10th Racing, Nikki Chan in 6th. They've got a lineup of cars behind with Stephen Verweyen and Timothy Salvatore. So we've got racing inside the top 10 these last few moments. Here we go, Polar Bear Racing to the inside of Last 10th. That was close there through the final corner. Up the hill they go.
And now this is where I think everybody can agree we're now at that point where we're not really going to give a lot of room, whether you're passing or defending. You're going to try to squeeze the person. You're going to try to be as aggressive as you can blocking. And I mean, that all comes with the cost. If you want to block, that's great, but it comes with the cost. If you want to be aggressive throwing it in and pinch somebody, that's great, but it all comes with the cost. So how much, what give and take, or how much give and take are you willing to give, and are you willing to get what you're willing to give?
Right now, it's absolutely zero give and all take, as we see Josh and Andrew going right back at it again with 15 lap car behind him. Beautiful crossover by Josh right there. Like you said, Zach, it's all about, can you take what you dish out, and are you willing to do that? Which watching these two guys fight, it's really, really good. I think Andrew and Josh have put on a good show here. I think Andrew's definitely been putting the car exactly where he needs to, and I think Josh is going to have to probably change up what he's been doing in the last 6 minutes if he wants to get by.
I think you nailed it right on the head, David, as Andrew putting his car where it needs to be. It seems like every time Josh might have a little bit of going into a corner, but the next corner, Josh would be on the outside. Andrew keeps putting himself on the inside to each and every single corner, whether he's getting past or, being challenged for a position.
Wow.
Big move there. Josh thinks differently of it coming down towards the end of the corner, but I mean, obviously right now, Josh feels like he's got a faster car. He might look to have a faster car, but Andrew's putting his car, the 998, exactly where it needs to be, and to not allow Josh any kind of breathing room. Yep, there it is.
There's the moment that 7 car needed, and the Balka Racing mistake comes at a large cost. Here comes the other Madness car to follow in the draft of that number 21 McLaren. It's going to be a big run. Yep, there we go. A big lift from the Balka Racing machine of Andrew Waring. That allows Scott Angelo to go through. That allows Giancarlo Scheilemann to go through. And that changes up the entire complexity of the top 5 with about 5 minutes to go. Here we go. A look now from Giancarlo into turn number 3. And it is stifled by Scott Angelo. Angelo keeps him at bay. That is for 3rd spot.
If you're Scheilemann right now, David, if you're in a position where you've got 5 minutes to go and you feel like you might be faster than the 2 cars in front of you, maybe the car in front of you is faster than the car in front of him, how much do you kind of save behind him, hope they catch, maybe have a chance to battle for 2 positions instead of 1, or do you start battling now and just kind of hope you get around the guy in front of you soon to go catch the guy in front, or the next guy?
Right now, Zach, it's go time. I think looking at the lap times here, the grassroots car with Giancarlo has been a little bit faster than the Madness car that Scott is. I think it's go time. Get up right on his bumper, force a mistake, maybe into some of the coming onto some of the longer corners. If you're right up under his wing, you can lift a little bit early, get on the brakes sooner, so you can get on the power sooner and extend that straightaway, get on the gas sooner, use that draft in the slipstream and pop out and make a lunge. But one of the things that I've seen out of Scott so far today is he's been really, really good about not defending clean air. And what I mean by that is he's not just blocking for the sake of blocking. He's not pulling into the middle of the track for the sake of pulling into the middle of the track and making it clear to Andrew that I'm going to play defense here. The thing that's working as Giancarlo goes all through the grid, the thing that's helping Scott is now Giancarlo has to worry about the 998 behind him again. So you really, I think, Zach, it's go time. You can't afford it. There's 3 minutes left. There's probably 2 laps. You got to go.
I want to confirm that we will have some driver interviews after the race as we will continue to watch with about 3 minutes to go. Giancarlo Schleimann work on Scott Angelo for the 3rd position. We'll have some driver interviews after the race, so once the race ends, stick with us here at Pit Stop TV and Rev TV as we're going to get some post-race coverage. Scott Angelo, a big mistake there, opens the door for Schleimann to catch right on up, and this is about 2 laps to go for these guys. We're on lap 69, it looks like, and a very nice battle for the 3rd spot. We're down in the last couple of laps.
And you see the defensive kind of moves there. Giancarlo making defensive moves, or excuse me, Giancarlo trying to make offensive moves to try to get around Angelo, but it's just not working. You saw the defensive moves right now. Now they bear fruit. Angelo's been able to pull away just a little bit. Maybe Giancarlo not packing up anything, but he's just kind of laying back, letting himself recalm. You still got 2 minutes left. Big slide again coming into the carousel.
And this could be that chance that Andrew needs to get the spot back from both of these guys. If these guys are going to go, it looks like there's a little contact, which is going to check up on Carlo. Andrew's got the run here. Going side by side through the kinks should give Scott a little bit of a breather.
And that allows Waring to go through right ahead of Schleiman. A lap car right behind. You can tell Giancarlo's not happy about that, but definitely forced issue from Andrew Waring. But, I mean, the opening was there. If there's a gap, you got to put your car in it and go for it at this point in the race. Now, Tyrone Roberts is coming around to collect what will be nearly the white flag. And, yes, it is the white flag, brought to you by Whiplash SimCam. So, 1 lap to go here for Tyrone Roberts in the Roberts Racing Camp. David Samsoid, otherwise known as on Twitch, started this car and did a fantastic job driving it into the top 10, and since then it's been a steady climb. Very few, if any, mistakes out of this camp. They have been near perfect, and they are a lap away from claiming victory in sim racing for the Kids 4.
And we've seen a lot of drivers rise and fall. We've seen them start at the top and fall. We've seen people come to the front and then fall out again. This is really the only team that we've seen to come to the top and stay towards the top, even through pit stops. So the Roberts Racing 555 for the Kids, I think they've put together probably obviously it's going to be the best, because they are looking to win. I cannot guarantee, but they are looking to win. They have a really good chance at it right now, but I mean, they've put together arguably the best strategy, the best race call so far, and it's bearing fruit. They're out here up front.
On board with Andrew Waring in the 5th position, trying to chase down that Grassroots Racing number 83. So this is Balka Racing on board, trying to chase down Grassroots Racing, and I think Waring's tires are cooked, gentlemen. He's just falling back further and further, as there you see the confirmation of the white flag brought to you by Whiplash SimCams.
And just in from race control, car 68, Scott Andrews, the Maradness car running P3, is going to have a 10-second post-race time penalty for blocking into turn 5.
Oh, wow.
On the last lap. So that was when he squeezed the Ferrari off to the right in the brake zone. So there's 10 seconds. So they will be losing 3rd place here, and it looks like they're going to be falling back to.
Well, here we go. Checkered flag in the air for Roberts Racing up the hill, and checkered flag officially for the number 555. It's out, and Roberts Racing has got the win in sim racing for the Kids 4. We'll wait and see if there's any post-race updates on that machine and see if there's any kind of penalty, but for now, that's your race winner, and there is Maradness M Squad in 2nd place with Oceana Coffee. Maradness M Squad, Oceana Coffee in 3rd. They will have that penalty, which should elevate Grassroots Racing to 3rd place, Balka Racing to 4th. But what a win for the 555 of Roberts Racing. Unbelievable day for them, just absolutely picture perfect. What a day.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about, all the drivers that were up front, they fell. All the people that came to the front towards the middle of the race, they fell. This was probably the only team that did not fall when they got to the front out of the strategy. They called it perfectly, and barring the officials, claiming or making it official, the 555 will be your winner.
You know, we definitely want to remind everybody here that the real winner is the kids that are going to be the recipients of some of the great money that was raised tonight. Between green flag and checkered flag, we've raised $50,770, and definitely still open on that. So, but the real winner, congratulations to the Roberts Racing guys, but definitely the real winner is all the kids tonight.
And there's still time, even after this event. I believe donations are open until, I think, January 10th, I heard. Something like that. So a few days left here to donate. If you can, we certainly urge you to consider doing so. The website, if you don't want to scan the QR code, the website is fundraise.sickkidsfoundation.com/sim-racing-for-the-kids. It's a pretty lengthy URL, so I really do recommend just scanning the QR code. It'll take you right to the website where you can donate and become a part of Sim Racing for the Kids and donate to this wonderful cause. And it's touched so many drivers and personalities around the Sim Racing for the Kids event personally, and it's become just... This event has become, I think, a mainstay on iRacing, and it's a pleasure once again, an honor to be a part of this event this year in 2025, and I think all the drivers kind of hold that same sentiment as we ride around under checkered flag condition with Tyrone Roberts. He'll take it into the pit lane. No burnouts today. I think that's a pretty respectful move there. The Mark Martin move.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, you mentioned Mark Martin. David, how about that, Mark Martin?
Yeah, definitely a big fan of that guy. Nothing but respect. But yeah, like you guys said, it was a fantastic race for all the Roberts Racing guys in 555. It was, just nice and smooth and easy, and that's one of those things that just keep, if you're able to keep it on the track without any incidents. And looking back at it, they had 11 incident points throughout the race, which is one of the smaller amounts. One of the smallest of all the cars that finished.
That's absolutely incredible. We'll go back and get a look at race results here when it's all said and done. Let's take a look across the standings here in the final couple of minutes before our final break on the evening. Tyrone Roberts, Josh Green, Scott Angelo, your top three, but the team names there are Roberts Racing, Muradness M Squad Ginger Liveries, and Muradness M Squad Oceana Coffee. Now, there will be that 10-second penalty issued to Muradness Oceana Coffee, third place. They will drop down the order a little bit. They will be scored, it looks like, 7th position or so after their 10-second penalty. But we'll roll through as the drivers finished anyways. Andrew Waring in 5th, right behind Giancarlo Monetti Schleiman. I'm probably butchering the last name. I'm so sorry, Giancarlo. I'm doing my best. But Timothy Salvatore 6th, Nicky Chan 7th, Justin Clemine 8th, Kieran Ormiston in 9th, and Chris Paczynski in 10th. And tell you what, we'll let these go by and let you see where your favorite driver or team finished. We're about to head to that break, so we'll do this quickly before we hit that break. But we'll be right back here at Pitstop TV and Rev TV.
Stuck planning another group event? Tired of the same old ideas? HIP Motorsports has exactly what you need. Drive HIP's top-notch racing simulators. Race incredible virtual cars and tracks in the HIP esports arena. Chirp your opponents and battle for the podium. Then relax in the HIP lounge with some tasty food and drinks. It's a unique motorsports-inspired experience that your group will love and remember. Scan the code to plan your event. HIP Motorsports provides complete turnkey racing simulators for your home or business. We'll help you select a package that fits your needs and budget. Then build and deliver a fully supported turnkey solution. You just race. HIP Motorsports has the top sim racing brands and the expertise to get you into your dream racing simulator. HIP Motorsports is your sim racing source.
Welcome back to the Virtual Road America, as everything has wound down here from the racetrack. Everything has calmed down in virtual Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Race cars are off the racetrack. We are about to talk to some drivers and see what they thought of this year's Sim Racing for the Kids event. I'm sure it'll be all smiles from that Roberts Racing camp for sure. Good to talk to them. Well, it will be good to talk to them anyways here in just a moment and hear their thoughts. Let's bring in Tyrone Roberts and company. So we'll bring in first, if we can. Actually, it looks like, might have to get some help. So, Robert Hill, if you can hear me out there, I cannot move these guys. So we might have to do this a different way. Well, give us just one moment. Well, in the meantime here, Zach and David, while we figure out the interview portion of this event and have a couple of backfirings, if you will, what was your favorite part of for each of you guys? What was your favorite part of this event this evening?
I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the competitive aspect for the kids in that go. I mean, obviously this was for the Sick Kids Foundation and for the kids, and I think there was no shortage of even though it was for a charity race and it was for a charity, there's no shortage of aggression. There's no shortage of driving. I mean, we saw a lot of beating and a lot of banging, especially right there at the end. So, I mean, the competitive edge was still there. And usually in some charity races where, there's really not a lot on the line for personally, but there is for other people, usually you don't get that. So I think the competitive edge for every team that was there, I think that was probably my favorite part. There was nothing held back. They still all went for it.
And I think I'm going to echo what Zach said. It was definitely, a ton of fun to be up here in the broadcast booth with you guys. I've enjoyed, working with you guys and racing with you guys for gosh, it feels like the last 10 years. And finally getting to work with you guys on this was an absolute blast for me personally. But I completely agree with what Zach said, that the best part was, watching the ticker on the monitor here, just, $48,000, $49,000, $50,000, and now we're almost at $51,000, which is absolutely fantastic, because we all know that that's going to a great cause here with the Sick Kids Foundation. So I just want to say big thanks to everybody here at Pit Stop TV for letting us come in and have some fun tonight. But definitely the biggest the biggest winner tonight is Sick Kids Foundation and all of the money that we've raised for them.
And this has been a special event for the last 4 years. I'm so lucky to have been a part of it the last couple of years and commentate these races with Sim TV and the company they provide. And so glad to bring it over to Pit Stop TV, my kind of brainchild and whatnot. And, continue this event, continue what's been happening here for Sim Racing for the Kids in benefit of Sick Kids Foundation based in Toronto, Canada. Please do consider donating if you can. The QR code is back on your screen. And let's see if okay, we've got Tyrone Roberts with us. Tyrone, you drove the car to the end there, but it was a full team effort. How did you guys get to victory lane this evening?
I couldn't have done it without my team. David had a really good strategy going for us, fuel saving, tire saving. Joe Bondman's his second stint lap times were incredible. So all good drivers and great racecraft for everybody. Had a blast doing this. This was my first one for this year, so this is great.
And a good way to kick the new year off, right? You're raising all this money for Sick Kids Foundation. Is there any better way to spend your time on iRacing here to kick off the new year?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It has been a pleasure doing this for a good cause. Absolutely.
That's Tyrone Roberts. I think we're going to work on getting Samsoid in here to talk to him as well. But Tyrone, congratulations. Solid effort. And it was good to talk to you. And there's Samsoid. We'll get him in here. And Samsoid, we saw you start the car for Roberts Racing. What was that like with 50 some odd cars on the racetrack all at once?
Yeah, it was intense. I just tried to focus forward, find someone I was going to follow, and I knew there was nothing I could do about anything that happened from behind, so I just tried to keep my eyes forward and tried to follow as close as I could and keep my calm. But yeah, it worked out. It was touch and go a few times there, but we ended lap 1 on 9x, so it was a tough race.
And it sounds like you kept the incidents to a minimum after that. It sounds like 9x on lap 1, but 16 when the race was said and done. I mean, how do you manage that over the course of the race? That's not easy to do.
I just told my teammates that I've used them up and they can't use anymore. So, and they respected it, and that was it. No, seriously, yeah, my teammates were just built different with regards to off tracks. They didn't get a single one each. So, yeah, we just knew we were moving up in the positions, and if we could avoid the drive-through, we could fight for a podium, and it worked out to be a win. So we couldn't be more happy, to be honest.
How many strategy options were there for you guys, and why did you land on the strategy option that worked out for you in the end?
We actually fell into the best strategy. We thought we had the best strategy, but then we realized we were going to leave Tyrone without tires on the last stop. So we doubled down on it and committed to it by giving him the 45 minutes he had allotted. We wanted to share it out a bit more fairly, but so yeah, we fell into the best strategy, which landed perfectly on Robert. He was really good on tires. He knew the job he had to do. He knew he wouldn't be getting tires, so it worked out fantastic. It was definitely the best strategy, but I'm not sure it's the strategy would have picked.
Well, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and you are both this evening, I'd say. Congratulations, and congratulations especially for winning this special event.
Yeah, thank you. It was an honor. Great stuff. I loved it.
And it sounds like we'll get Jordan Molly next, and I'm sorry, Johan Molly. So, Johan, I believe you were the other driver behind this Roberts racing car. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So what was it like out there early in this race? I know Samsung did the heavy lifting there at the start, but what was it like being told you only had so many incidents to go to the end?
You know what, like, yeah, we had that 8X early on before we even got to turn 1, but I knew that, like, you know, the track limits here are pretty forgiving, so you can still be quick and, yeah, and not, and still push a lot and not get off tracks, because, yeah, the track's pretty lenient on off tracks. But we were worried that when we had 8X at the beginning, I was like, oh, if you get a bunch of more off tracks and get another incident here and there, and then, yeah, it'll be 20X pretty soon.
And of course, this is a long event, a team event. I mean, how do you manage the mental fatigue over the course of 2.5 hours, even if you're not in the car the entire time?
Yeah, honestly, when you're not in the car, I think that's worse for me, because then I'm not in control of anything and I'm just watching my teammates drive. So I think, like, just at the end, watching Tyrone drive and taking care of the back markers, I was just a bit worried because it was still 30-something minutes to go, even though we had a decent lead at the end. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's fatiguing when you're driving, but I would say it's more fatiguing when you're out of the car. But obviously, I think David helped a lot with the fuel calculations and so forth.
More fatiguing out of the car. I never thought I would hear it. Well, almost said Tyrone. Johan, it's good to talk to you. Congratulations on being a integral part of this effort to win this race.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun, guys.
And we will drop down and get Giancarlo Schleiman. I believe that's the last, how you pronounce the last name. Is that right, Giancarlo?
Schliemann, yeah.
Schliemann. Okay, close enough anyways, but
Totally.
You guys end up coming home in the what's going to be the third spot, I believe, as Grassroots Racing will get bumped up into third with that penalty. I mean, first off, I know that's not the way you want to get third place, but how rewarding is it to get third at the end of the day?
Oh, very much so. I mean, we started off real strong. Marc-Andre put in a lovely qualifying lap and really had us up there towards the front that whole stint. We unfortunately had a bit of a pit lane speed limit violation coming out of the pits at the start of our second full stint, but even with that stop and hold, extremely rewarding to bring that back and finish right up at the top where we started.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys were up front early in this race, top 5 for a while, then kind of dropped down the order. What happened there?
Yeah, I think coming out of the pits at the start of our second full stint, we just didn't get on the pit limiter or got off it a bit too early and just barely hit over that speed limit. So we had to come in, hit that, I think it was a 15-second stop and go. But, you know, made things interesting, had us really pushing all the way to the ends to get back up into that P3.
Well, I maybe took you out of the chaos there for a little while, let you just put the nose down and get racing. I want to transition over to Jacob here. This is a long race. How do you manage the mental fatigue in and out of the car like that?
Man, it's a lot of just keeping an eye on the relative for your teammates, seeing what sort of traffic they're going to be running into, just like trying to stay focused and just keep breathing, really. Just, you know, measured breaths.
And as somebody who didn't start the car, I mean, how nerve-wracking is it watching the car go out there for the first couple of laps, 60 cars on the racetrack at once, and just everybody going this way and that? How nerve-wracking is that?
Oh, a lot. Watching all the cars come really close together on the start and then slowly spread out is always a bit of a scary process.
A scary process for sure. That's putting it lightly. Well, good to talk to you both, and congratulations. Grassroots Racing, a heck of an effort here. 3rd place when it's all said and done. You guys deserve it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that'll leave us with just a couple of minutes here. Our 10:15 window is coming up quickly, so I want to just thank everybody again who was a part of this event, made this event possible. It would not be possible without the groups on your screen now: Canadian Motorsports Academy, Hyundai Canada, Auto Eclectic Motorsports, Vehicle Dynamics Group, the Garage Guy Barbecue, Hip Motorsports, Georgetown Hyundai, Muddy Moose, Larder Lake, Breyer Brothers Brewing Company, Rev TV, and of course, Sick Kids Foundation. Zach, David, one more time. I already asked you what your favorite part of the event was, but how much are you each looking forward to hopefully doing this again next year?
Oh, very much so, buddy. That was a lot of fun to get up here and, with your permission, get up here and do this with you. So I had a blast. This was all for the kids, and it was really, really cool to experience this for the first time. I've heard about this event so many times, so to finally be a part of it, it's really, really cool, and it's really, really cool, the turnout, the funds raised, just everything, the way that it's all kind of fallen was really, really cool, and I hope to be a part of it next year.
And once again, I'm going to echo everything that Zach says here. It was an unbelievable race to watch. It was a ton of fun. As the driver, I'd love to be part of it next year behind the wheel, but after watching these guys, I don't think I could necessarily compete with some of the speed that they had, which I think honestly, that's another thing that we brought up early on in qualifying, and it was a ton of fun to see that. But definitely, best part still has to be the amount of money that we've raised, because right now we're really quickly coming up on $51,000.
It's incredible, the effort that goes into this event and the money that gets thrown behind it in such a good way. So thank you, everybody, for your donations. It has been a pleasure to be a part of this event once again, and especially in this kind of role here on Pit Stop TV and Rev TV. A big thank you to Whiplash SimCams, ATVO, CC's Business, and Cody Williams Design. And I want to give another big nod to the upcoming events here at Pit Stop TV. Tomorrow night, we've got a mystery race. We don't know where we're racing yet, for the Sim Auto Racing Association Pierce Fleet Service Super Series here on Pit Stop TV on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, all over the place here on online with some iRacing streaming. And then Saturday, it's the 2nd annual Carol Kenneth Carden Memorial Race at 6 Eastern on January 11th. And then Sunday, we have the Major Series Daytona 2.4. More sports car racing on the channel in a big, big way. The Daytona 2.4 is going to be so dang cool. I'm looking forward to it here on Pit Stop TV, 6:45 Eastern, January the 12th. That will do it for us this evening. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you all next time here at Pit Stop TV and on Rev TV. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Hip Motorsports provides complete turnkey racing simulators for your home or business.
For those who competed decades ago, speeding down highways, through towns, country roads. For those who sat watching on the sides of the street, who found solace in chaos and thunderous speed. Those who grew up without the sights and sounds, without race cars shaking the ground. Who don't understand why racing appeals to our fascination and the way built a purpose-built place to camp and spend time with friends, watching racing together until darkness descends. Though no longer do the streets rumble and roar, there's a place just for this, a park to explore.
Racing circuit before the assault. The 4 twisting, beautiful miles at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. For 6 brutal years hours, its serenity will be violated by the raw, screaming racing machine. It's the famed Eastern Endurance Classic, the Road America 500. The specially constructed race circuit at Elkhart Lake at normal speed. It's a scenic 4-mile drive through fall tinted Wisconsin countryside.
Hidden by near Elkhart Lake. Not nor chill, but a road to race. In a town too quiet, the refuge we seek. Road America